Chapter 1091. Taking advantage of others' misfortune. Lancelot looked like an ant before the three evil earth dragons. It seemed as if a single slap was more than enough to take his life. Roar! The three evil earth dragons activated their evil roar skills simultaneously, firing 3 gray beams at Lancelot. As the evil earth dragon's specialty skill, their evil roars had a very wide range. If struck, even mythic monsters of the same level would receive significant damage. Their combat powers might even weaken. The players watching from a distance felt chills crawl down their spines when they saw the 3 gray beams. They finally understood why the tens of thousands of players that had attempted to raid Black Ridge Town had suffered such a miserable defeat. It wouldn't matter how many players attacked the town. Against such a skill, all would die instantly. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 beams of light converged into a single point, creating a deafening explosion. Despite the explosion occurring in the air, the resulting shockwave nearly sent the players inside the town flying. Black Flame, do you think a single Tier 4 NPC can defeat us? Abandoned Wave gleefully demanded. Although they had lost Stone Forest Town and their war with Zero Wing ended in a draw, every player throughout Star Moon Kingdom would know of Blackwater now that it had displayed its power. The guild would have no issues recruiting elite and expert players in the future. Blackwater would quickly recover its losses. But what about Zero Wing? Without Stone Forest Town, the Candlelight Trading Firm would be Zero Wing's only source of income. The trading firm's meager profits could never sustain a guild of Zero Wing's size. Moreover, Zero Wing could only operate around White River City. How could its development speed possibly compete with Blackwater's? The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had also suppressed Zero Wing's expansion into the Black Dragon Empire. Hence, it was only a matter of time before Blackwater surpassed Zero Wing. By then, he would remove Zero Wing's name from Star Moon Kingdom permanently. Guild leader Look, just as Abandoned Wave's hope rekindled, Laughing Drunkard's eyes widened as he looked towards the sky, shock flashing in his gaze. Still hovering in the air, Lancelot was unharmed. A 5-layer ice barrier shattered and fell to the ground, piece by piece. He's unharmed? How is he so powerful? Is this a Tier 4 NPC? The spectating crowd gasped when they saw this, their hearts nearly skipping a beat. A single evil roar could easily wipe out thousands of players or heavily injure a Grand Lord of the same level. Yet Lancelot emerged unscathed after taking 3 of these attacks. Everyone was confused. Why was there such a huge disparity in strength between these Tier 4 existences? Continue the attacks. He must have used a life-saving skill. He won't be able to use it repeatedly. The outcome also surprised Abandoned Wave. However, he had a more complete view of the situation. The greatest difference between NPCs and monsters was their skill's strength. Otherwise, how could NPCs challenge monsters of the same tier? As Abandoned Wave had guessed, the 5-layered ice mirror was a Tier 4 Great Wizard's life-saving skill. The skill could not be used again within a short time. Moreover, the skill had a very short duration of only 10 seconds. Immediately, tens of thousands of spells and arrows flew towards Lancelot. However, Lancelot was too small a target. Only several hundred attacks actually struck the NPC. In response, Lancelot stretched out his hand and swiped it across the empty space before him. Suddenly, a light blue magic shield appeared around him, releasing a dazzling, eye-catching glow. When the spells and arrows met the magic shield, it was as if they had crashed into adamantite. The magic shield remained intact even after receiving the hundreds of attacks. By the time the first wave of attacks ended, Lancelot had finished chanting the incantation for the Tier 4 spell, Earth Pulsation. The spell had an effective radius of 300 yards. Upon the spell's activation, the ground in the affected area shattered. Over 1,000 players died on the spot. Monsters beneath Lord rank were also killed. Immediately after, Lancelot swung his hand again. Clouds of dark smoke rose from Earth Pulsation's affected area and flew towards Lancelot. This dark smoke was comprised of the slain players' souls. Nothing nourished Lancelot more than players' immortal souls. As Lancelot absorbed the dark smoke, pleasure lit his expression. His aura also grew slightly stronger. He can absorb souls. When Abandoned Wave witnessed this familiar scene, fear flashed in his eyes. Immortal souls were extremely important to players. If a player's immortal soul were absorbed, the penalty could range anywhere from being unable to log into the game for several days to permanent death. In the latter scenario, players would have no choice but to start a new account. When Peerless and Singular Burial heard Abandoned Wave's words, they similarly paled. They were not ordinary players. They had a general understanding of immortal souls. If this NPC absorbed all of their present guild members' souls, the consequences would be devastating. Yet, the powerful gravitational force continued to drag them closer to Lancelot. They couldn't escape the NPC at all. It seems I'll have to give them some hints. Xueqi could not help but laugh when he saw these players' despair. Immediately, he anonymously published a message on the official forums, mentioning that he knew Lancelot's weakness. However, the information would cost 10,000 magic crystals. Although his asking price was slightly high, if it could save tens of thousands of elite players and experts from losing their immortal souls, Blackwater and Heaven's Burial would buy the information without hesitation. As for letting Lancelot eliminate Blackwater and Heaven's Burial's members, that was not Xueqi's goal. If Lancelot absorbed these players' souls, even Xueqi would be helpless against the NPC. Moreover, he would truly lose Stone Forest Town. This was not his desired outcome. His best option was to ensure that both sides suffered immense losses. Of course, if Blackwater had not possessed the 3 evil earth dragons, there would be no point in sharing Lancelot's weakness. In the past, Lancelot's seal had been removed a total of 3 times. Unlike the first time the seal had been released, imprisoning Lancelot by repairing the sealing crystal had been impossible after his second release. They had beaten Lancelot within an inch of his life before he could be resealed. If players wanted to suppress Lancelot, they needed someone or something to pin down the awakened NPC for a moment. Only then could players approach the obelisk and activate the magic array inside the structure. When activated, the magic array would suppress Lancelot, making him much easier to deal with. Suddenly, Daybreak Fog contacted Singular Burial and asked, "Guild leader, I just discovered a method to deal with the NPC on the official forums. However, the other party is requesting 10,000 magic crystals. Should we purchase the information?" 10,000. Why doesn't he just rob us instead? Singular Burial bellowed. Although Heaven's Burial could obtain plenty of magic crystals, 10,000 was not a small number. However, as soon as Singular Burial finished speaking, Lancelot began to chant another incantation. The mana fueling this spell was no less than his earth pulsation. Moreover, due to dark gravitation, players were much closer to the NPC. "Guild leader, do we buy the information?" Although Daybreak Fog agreed that this price was ludicrous, they had no other options. "Buy it!" Singular Burial gnashed his teeth. Losing one's immortal soul was no trivial matter. He did not want to take this risk. Inwardly, however, he swore to himself, this seller better not reveal his identity. I will not let him off the hook. Chapter 1092. Killing the Awakened. After Singular Burial paid the 10,000 magic crystals, he appeared to age significantly. Zero Wing. I will make you pay for this. His goal in dispatching such a large army to Stone Forest Town had been to take advantage of the situation and plunder some of the weapons and equipment Zero Wing's members dropped. After all, Zero Wing's members were famous for their excellent items. The average standard of Guild's elite members was even higher than Heaven's Burial's. However, not only hadn't he gained anything, but he had also lost over 30,000 elite members and 10,000 magic crystals. After Heaven's Burial received the strategy he had paid for, he fell silent for a long time. He radiated a cold, deathly aura. The message he received only contained one sentence. Use the evil earth dragons to distract Lancelot and send someone into the obelisk to activate the magic array. He paid 10,000 magic crystals for this. At this moment, Singular Burial even considered devouring Xueqi whole. Guild leader Burial, what's going on? What's with the ugly look? Peerless asked curiously when he noticed Singular Burial's enraged laugh. However, after some thought, he found nothing unreasonable about Singular Burial's reaction. Heaven's Burial had not benefited from this war whatsoever despite sacrificing the majority of his 50,000 elite player army. It would be odd if Singular Burial were in a good mood. However, Peerless rather admired the other guild leader. He never thought that the man would be so open-minded as to laugh after such a loss. Only, the man's facial expression was slightly tense. However, Singular Burial was not ordinary. Very quickly, he sheathed his bubbling emotions and notified Abandoned Wave and Peerless of the method to raid Lancelot. Abandoned Wave immediately instructed the bandaged man to control the evil earth dragons to pin down Lancelot, while Peerless had the Red Jade Legion's experts sneak into the obelisk and search for the prepared magic array. When Zero Wings members had retreated, Phoenix Rain, who was currently in the faraway Apocalypse Empire, had paid attention to every movement in Stone Forest Town. A white-haired, slightly hunched old man also watched the war from inside the spacious guild leader's room. Although this man was already in his 70s and looked as if a strong breeze could topple him easily, Phoenix Rain treated him with great respect. This elder was none other than the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's great pavilion master. He was the true owner of the pavilion, Ku Rong. Zero Wing is quite interesting. To think such a small guild can catch both you and 9 dragons' attention at the same time, Ku Rong said, chuckling as he looked at the destroyed and occupied Stone Forest Town. However, while one of you has an optimistic view of the guild, the other is trying to destroy it. I cannot figure out what is going through your youthful minds nowadays. But Rain, you've slightly overdone it this time. You've invested so much into Zero Wing. Now that Zero Wing has lost Stone Forest Town, how are you going to compete with 9 dragons on Thunder Island? You know how important Thunder Island is to the guild. Moreover, I've already stated that whoever takes control of Thunder Island will succeed me in the future. I have always had a favorable opinion of you. I hope you do not disappoint me. When Phoenix Rain heard Ku Rong's words, her chest tightened. In reality, she had always wondered if she had made the right decision to invest so much into Zero Wing. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had only discovered Thunder Island by chance while exploring a dangerous zone out at sea. However, upon reaching Thunder Island, the pavilion had discovered certain information which the upper echelons greatly valued. Even Ku Rong, the great pavilion master who usually did not show himself in the guild, made an appearance. However, news about Thunder Island had quickly leaked, which attracted the attention of many superguilds. Several superguilds had already dispatched their capable forces to contest for the island. Meanwhile, Ku Rong had made up his mind and publicly announced to the guild the condition to become the next great pavilion master. Whoever took control of Thunder Island would become the next great pavilion master of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, and the future great pavilion master would control all of the guild's resources, talents, and future development. Even after so many years, Ku Rong had never once mentioned the matter of succession. Hence, Ku Rong's abrupt decision after reading the collected information on Thunder Island had stupefied all of the elders in the meeting. Phoenix Rain herself had been taken aback. However, wresting control of Thunder Island from 9 Dragons Emperor and the various superguilds was easier said than done. It would likely require far more resources than she could imagine. Moreover, even if she collected enough funds, her chances of taking control of Thunder Island were very small. It seems I'll have to find Black Flame or Yifeng for a chat, Phoenix Rain thought as she massaged her temples. Meanwhile, Stone Forest Town was quite lively right now. After the magic array inside the obelisk had been activated, Lancelot's basic attributes had been significantly weakened. As a result, the power of his spells had decreased. After Lancelot had been weakened, players could finally damage the NPC. Unfortunately, they weren't able to deal much. Even level 40 experts' damage was only in the dozens, while elite players only dealt 2 or 3 damage. Moreover, Lancelot dodged most of the attacks sent at him. Even so, this turn of events gave these players hope of victory. Lancelot's maximum HP was now only 60 million. Although players' damage was low, many a little made a mickle. Furthermore, they still had the support of 3 evil earth dragons. From time to time, the mythic monsters would launch attacks that dealt tens of thousands of damage. It was only a matter of time before they wore out Lancelot. Everyone, spread out. Melees, stop trying to approach the NPC and defend the magic array at the obelisk. Ranged players, give him a beating. Abandoned Wave commanded excitedly as he stood atop the obelisk. After the obelisk's magic array had been activated, shadow monsters, formed from mana, began to assault the magic array fiercely. However, compared to Lancelot, these shadow monsters were very weak. They were mostly level 60 elite monsters. The three guilds' elite and expert melee players were more than enough to defend the magic array. In addition, the three evil earth dragons served as meat shields. Lancelot's HP had already fallen to 20%. To get to this point, they had paid the lives and souls of nearly 6,000 elite and expert players. Two of the three evil earth dragons had also died in battle, with the last only had half of its HP remaining. However, based on Abandoned Wave's calculations, the remaining mythic monster should last them until Lancelot died. Just thinking about the loot a powerful NPC like Lancelot would drop caused Abandoned Wave's heart to jump with excitement. According to God's Domain's iron laws, the stronger the monster or NPC was, the better the items they would drop. What kind of loot would an NPC, that even three mythic monsters were helpless against, drop? This thought had floated in Abandoned Wave's mind throughout the battle against Lancelot. Time quickly passed. When Lancelot's HP fell to 5%, the players inside the town charged at the NPC frantically. They completely ignored Lancelot's AoE spells. "He's nearly dead. Attack with everything you've got," Abandoned Wave shouted. Abandoned Wave wasn't the only person with such thoughts. Singular Burial and Peerless Hearts also began to pound. Very quickly, Lancelot's HP fell from 5% to 4% before falling to 3%. Meanwhile, Lancelot's retaliation grew more powerful, which rapidly increased the three guilds' death rate. Every one of the awakened NPC's attacks could easily kill hundreds of players. However, the guild's members were too tempted by the NPC's loot. They couldn't care less if their allies died. When Lancelot only had 1% HP remaining, Xueqi finally made his move. Using space movement, he instantly appeared above Lancelot. "There's someone there. Someone actually dares to try to steal our loot. Kill him." Although everyone was absorbed in the battle, they were not so blind as to fail to notice an outsider. Kill stealing was common in God's domain. Even they often practiced the act. Hence, they were naturally wary of kill steals. The instant Xueqi appeared, everyone instinctively shifted their attention to him. "Wait, that's Black Flame." Some expert players with good eyesight quickly recognized the intruder. "Black Flame. I never expected even you to make such a fatal mistake." Abandoned Wave could not help but laugh at Xueqi's foolish behavior. Immediately, he commanded, "Everyone, stop attacking the boss. Focus on Black Flame." Although Lancelot only had 1% HP remaining, 1% of 60 million was still 600,000. It was impossible for Xueqi to kill Lancelot by himself. Chapter 1093. Epic Legacy Skill. Kill him. Show him the consequences of trying to steal our boss. Hearing Abandoned Wave's command, all the ranged players focused their fire on Xueqi. Immediately, a barrage of spells and arrows flew at Xueqi, who was still in midair. With Xueqi caught in freefall, ranged players could easily predict his trajectory and aim their attacks accordingly. Die! Singular Burial hated Xueqi down to the bones right now. If not for Xueqi releasing Lancelot, Heaven's Burial would not have suffered such a tragic loss. Now that Xueqi had taken the initiative to come looking for a beating, how could Singular Burial possibly let the man get away? Immediately, Singular Burial unslung the white feather double-string longbow from his back. He then knocked 5 silver arrows carved with magic patterns and shot them at Xueqi. After he loosed the arrows, they merged into one and flew at Xueqi like a meteor. Singular Burial had just used the Tier 1 taboo skill Flying Meteor. The power of this taboo skill rivaled that of a Tier 2 skill. Even a Tier 2 lord would be heavily injured and become temporarily paralyzed if they received it directly. Aside from Singular Burial, other ranged experts had also used their specialties. Instantly, over 100 attacks locked on Xueqi's landing spot. Faced with such an onslaught, even if Xueqi were on the ground right now, he would find it impossible to dodge them all, not to mention that he was still in midair. However, just when he was about to enter the line of fire, his body suddenly stopped descending. Consequently, all the attacks simply streaked past underfoot. Immediately after, Xueqi, who had activated Wind Rider, flew towards Lancelot. He's flying? How can he be flying? Everyone was stupefied when they witnessed this scene. As for Singular Burial, who was somewhat familiar with Xueqi, the fact that during the war at the Stoneclaw Mountains, Xueqi had once flown for a short time popped into his head. This is bad. He lured us away from the boss. Quick, stop the evil Earth Dragon from attacking the NPC. Noticing that Lancelot was moving farther and farther away, Singular Burial suddenly understood why Xueqi had not used his flying skill right off. At this moment, aside from the last remaining evil Earth Dragon, everyone else had stopped attacking Lancelot. Regardless, the damage of the mythic monster was still much higher than the combined damage of all the players present. Even if it did not use any powerful attacks against Lancelot, it would shave off the NPC's remaining 600,000 HP before long. With Xueqi's accurate judgment towards damage and timing, he could easily time his attack and land the finishing blow on Lancelot. In addition, Blackwater's members had previously taken the initiative to lure Lancelot away from the main army. With the distance created, Xueqi would have more than enough time to steal all the loot before the main army could catch up. This was a perfect plan that killed two birds with one stone. Hearing Singular Burial's words, Abandoned Wave also realized what was going on. Hurriedly, he had the bandaged man stop holding back the evil Earth Dragon and let it attack Lancelot with its full power. This Singular Burial sure reacted quickly. Xueqi frowned. Just as Xueqi was about to arrive before Lancelot, Abandoned Wave finally made a move himself. Taking out an extremely exquisite dark green crystal ball from his bag, he began chanting the incantation to activate it. With a sinister smile on his face, Abandoned Wave squeezed the crystal ball and shattered it. When the crystal ball shattered, a stream of black smoke flew to Xueqi. This crystal ball was an extremely precious sealing crystal that the bandaged man had given him. When activated, the crystal ball could silence any single player within a radius of 100 yards for 10 minutes. Xueqi's Wind Rider skill instantly vanished, and his body plummeted towards the ground. All melees, surround him. Do not let him get away no matter what. Abandoned Wave shouted. Leave it to me, guild leader. Laughing Drunkard, who was charging at the forefront, licked his lips when he saw Xueqi falling. He was already prepared to land a fatal blow on Xueqi. The reason why players were strong was their ability to use numerous skills and spells. However, when they were silenced, they could only resort to normal attacks. Needless to say, a silenced player would have their combat power reduced significantly. Not to mention, Xueqi was still in a weakened state right now. Aside from Laughing Drunkard, over a dozen other level 40+ melee experts were dashing towards Xueqi. As soon as Xueqi landed, they would use their control skills to restrict him and butcher him. In response, however, Xueqi took out a scroll from his bag leisurely. Summon Guard. Immediately, Kite's tall and muscular figure appeared before Xueqi in midair. The Dark Gold Guard then executed the Tier 2 skill Storm Blade. In the next moment, dozens of invisible wind blades struck at Laughing Drunkard and the others. Damn it! Laughing Drunkard immediately withdrew when he failed to read what kind of attack Kite had just executed. However, everyone else was not as fortunate. Anyone who attempted to defend against the descending wind blades ended up falling on their backs. Immediately after, several more wind blades reaped their lives. By the time Kite and Xueqi alighted safely, all the players, aside from Laughing Drunkard, who had been within 15 yards of them, had died to the Dark Gold Guard's attack. Kite's power caused the players, who initially planned to rush at Xueqi, to freeze up, putting an abrupt end to the footwork to execute charge. Black Flame, you will die here today. Don't think that a single NPC can save your life. Although Laughing Drunkard feared Kite, Xueqi himself was unable to use a single skill. As long as they distracted Kite, killing Xueqi would be a piece of cake. What if I have to? Xueqi laughed as he proceeded to summon Anna. With the Dark Gold ranked Kite protecting him and the Epic ranked Anna on the offensive, the difficulty of killing him would most likely be even greater than if he were at his peak. The reason why guards were called guards in the first place was their very powerful ability to protect players. Without even waiting for Xueqi's command, Anna sprang into action as soon as she appeared. 10 stone guards abruptly appeared before her, forming a wall that blocked off all attacks from the front. The attacks of players could not even scratch the stone guards. In contrast, the stone guards sent numerous MTs flying with only a single attack. This situation rendered the surrounding players utterly helpless against Xueqi. As a result, Xueqi could stroll up to Lancelot. Crap! What kind of personal guards are they? They can actually cleave through an army of players so easily. My guess is that they're secret silver rank at the very least. They might even be the rumored fine gold guards. The spectating players were shocked when they saw how strong Kite and Anna were. Although the two NPCs had displayed frightening strength before, their performance right now was even more splendorous. However, Abandoned Wave, the guild leader of Blackwater, gnashed his teeth angrily when he saw this scene. At the same time, his heart was also tinged with jealousy. Kite was already plenty powerful, yet Xueqi actually had two of such personal guards. The aura Anna exuded seemed superior to even Kite's. Change of plans. All melees. Deal with Black Flame. Everyone else. Kill the boss as quickly as possible. Abandoned Wave reluctantly chose to deal with Lancelot first when he saw Xueqi still unharmed despite coming under assault from so many players. His decision was because, during the brief period they had stopped attacking Lancelot, the latter's HP had recovered back to 2%. If this situation continued, even after they managed to kill Xueqi, they wouldn't have any way of dealing with the NPCs. Several thousand melee players promptly surrounded Xueqi, blocking his path to Lancelot. Anna, it's up to you now, Xueqi commanded immediately, having no intention of wasting time. The strength of an epic guard was not as simple as Abandoned Wave thought it to be. Nodding in response, Anna began chanting an incantation, her hand continuously writing line after line of divine runes so fast that others could not even see her hand. Meanwhile, Kite and the 10 stone guards hindered the assault of the maddened players and monsters. As Anna chanted the final verse of the incantation, a golden magic array suddenly appeared in the middle of the sky, covering a radius of 100 yards. In the next moment, a woman wearing golden divine armor and wielding a silver spear emerged from the magic array. 2 sets of white, feathered wings spread wide from the woman's back. The instant this woman appeared, everyone could not help but turn their gaze towards the sky, fear and awe instantly flooding their hearts. A Valkyrie? This is a lie, right? Everyone was stupefied. Without waiting for anyone to react, the Valkyrie flapped her wings and abruptly flew before Anna. With a wave of her spear, she sent a storm sweeping across everyone. The ground before the Valkyrie shattered as if the mortal world could not withstand even a normal attack of the Valkyrie. Quickly finish off Lancelot. Xueqi ordered hurriedly. Angel Summoning was a legacy skill Anna learned after being promoted into an epic guard. The skill allowed her to summon a Valkyrie to assist her in battle. However, the Valkyrie summoned could only be 2 tiers higher than Anna at most and would remain in existence for a short 10 seconds. Moreover, Angel Summoning had a cooldown of 1 full day. Xueqi did not wish to waste this opportunity. Under Anna's command, the Valkyrie transformed into a streak of light and appeared before Lancelot. When the Valkyrie swept her spear towards Lancelot, the weapon tore apart even space itself. The power contained within the attack was even stronger than Lancelot's without the suppression of the obelisk's magic array. At the critical moment, Lancelot activated 5-layered ice mirror. However, when the layers of ice came into contact with the Valkyrie's spear, they immediately shattered into oblivion. Furthermore, the spear's power did not decrease even in the slightest as it landed on Lancelot's body. Boom! Lancelot instantly shot away, and his body crashed into the obelisk. His remaining 2% HP instantly fell to 0, leaving him deader than dead. Chapter 1094, Unstoppable EXP, he's dead. Didn't he still have 2% HP left? Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw Lancelot's motionless body planted in the wall of the obelisk. They had personally seen for themselves just how powerful Lancelot was. Even after he was suppressed, pushing him into a critical state would have been impossible if not for the 3 level 65 mythic-ranked evil earth dragons slowly chipping away at his HP. In order to reach this point, they had sacrificed over 10,000 elite players and even 2 evil earth dragons, and yet... Black Flame! Abandoned Wave screamed at the top of his lungs when he saw that Lancelot was dead. At this moment, due to Xueqi landing the final hit on the awakened NPC, his experience bar was skyrocketing. In just a short moment, he had gone from level 44 to level 45. Even then, his experience bar continued to shoot up. Level 45 10%, 30%, 50%. The EXP awarded for killing an awakened is actually this much? Xueqi was momentarily stunned when he looked at his rising experience bar. The hidden class he possessed doubled the EXP he required to level up. Not to mention, he had already reached level 44. Even killing 2 or 3 Grand Lords of the same rank would not net him 1 level. In the end, Xueqi rose from level 45 to level 46, and finally stopped at 84% of level 46. He was only 4 levels away from the level 50 threshold. This leveling speed truly surpassed Xueqi's expectations. Awesome. With this, I'll have more time to deal with the city building matter. Xueqi was in a great mood as he looked at his attribute panel. He could not help but wish he could kill several more awakened NPCs right now. That way, he'd be able to reach level 50 post-haste and challenge his tier 2 class promotion. Then, he could visit many places that were currently off-limits to him. Level 50 was a major threshold in God's domain. Not only would players receive a huge improvement to their weapons and equipment, but they could also visit more places. In God's domain, many rare maps opened up only to players that were level 50 and above. Although God's domain was different from most virtual reality games, it still imposed plenty of restrictions on players as a form of protection. These rare maps were perilous. Players below level 50 that visited these would undoubtedly die. Even after they met the level requirement to enter these maps, they would only have a slightly higher chance of survival. In the past, many of God's domain players had suffered under this restriction. When they stumbled across such maps with zero knowledge about them whatsoever, they received a free trip back to their respective cities, courtesy of the main God system, wasting plenty of precious travel time. After Xueqi got over his joy of leveling up twice, he shifted his gaze up to the air. After Lancelot died, he had dropped plenty of items. However, they were all scattered around the obelisk, not concentrated at a single location. Right then, the players inside Stone Forest Town also noticed the items strewn in midair around the obelisk. Immediately, greed surfaced in their eyes. With how powerful Lancelot was, one could just imagine how amazing the loot he dropped would be. Most likely, any random item could sell for an astronomical sum. Everyone swarmed towards the obelisk. Not daring to waste time idling around, Xueqi dashed straight for the closest item. However, after he had taken only a few steps forward, a deafening roar entered his ears. In the next moment, the last evil earth dragon executed savage charge on Xueqi. Not only did the skill provide the mythic monster with tremendous speed, but the first target its charge hit would also suffer 400% damage. If struck, even a tier 2 metric tons of the same level would be killed instantly, not to mention the weakened Xueqi. Most likely, even a scratch would send him to his grave. Go. Kill him. Abandoned Wave's eyes burned with rage after he saw 2 consecutive golden auras enveloping Xueqi. If not for Xueqi's interference, the person who leveled up twice might have been him. As for Lancelot's loot, he had long since ordered some assassins to collect them. Roar! The evil earth dragon roared as it charged at Xueqi. Its speed so fast that even if Xueqi activated Windrider, he would not outrun it. Just as the evil earth dragon was about to reach Xueqi, the beautiful Valkyrie appeared before Xueqi. She then thrust her spear at the approaching mythic monster. Pang! As a clashing sound echoed throughout the entire town, not only did the evil earth dragon's charge abruptly stop, but the mythic monster even went flying over 30 yards away. When its body slammed into the ground, the earth beneath it cratered. The evil earth dragon instantly lost 3% of its HP, leaving it with only 16% of its HP. Such strength! Her strength should be close to a tier 5 existences. As expected of a higher being. Xueqi was astounded at this scene. The evil earth dragon was bleeding profusely from the wound on its chest right now, and even the claw it used to block the Valkyrie's spear was bent at an unnatural angle. This was the difference brought about by life rating. Despite both being tier 4 existences, the level 69 Valkyrie's strength completely eclipsed the evil earth dragon's. By the time the evil earth dragon stood back up, the Valkyrie was already before it. Hovering in midair, the Valkyrie gently flapped her wings as she silently looked down on the evil earth dragon. Just when the mythic monster tried to do something, the Valkyrie sent another stab at it. Boom! The evil earth dragon got planted into the ground once again. This time, only half its body was above ground. Meanwhile, Its HP fell by another 3%. Everyone else inside the town felt a violent tremor that nearly caused them to lose their balance. After receiving a series of rapid attacks from the Valkyrie, the evil earth dragon was thoroughly embedded into the ground, with only its cranium, which was about to be flattened, above the surface. At this moment, the mythic monster had only 4% of its HP remaining. Then, the Valkyrie chanted an incantation. A massive, glowing sword manifested in the sky and plunged towards the evil earth dragon. When the sword crashed into the mythic monster's exposed head, it took away the monster's last strand of HP. After witnessing the Valkyrie's series of attacks, everyone was thoroughly stupefied. Before the Valkyrie, a Tier 4 mythic monster was no different from a common monster. She had slaughtered the evil earth dragon with no difficulty whatsoever. Meanwhile, Xueqi, who was currently frantically picking up loot, leveled up once more, reaching level 47. When the Valkyrie shifted her gaze towards the nearby players, everyone suddenly couldn't breathe. At this moment, it was as if their lives were out of their hands. Moreover, their bodies also felt extraordinarily heavy. Guild leader wave, let's retreat. Singular Burial no longer had the will to fight when he looked at the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie was simply too strong. Even sending an army of 300,000 elite players against her would be pure folly. If they remained here, most likely, not a single one of them would leave Stone Forest Town alive. Peerless nodded in agreement with Singular Burial's words. Of the 3 core legions he had brought with him, the Red Jade Legion was no longer functional. Currently, he had lost only 1/3 of his forces. He still had a chance to redeem himself. If he lost everything, however, he would have to start drafting his letter of resignation already. Fine. Let's go. Abandoned Wave's eyes were filled with reluctance as he said this. However, even though he was reluctant, he knew that contending with the Valkyrie was impossible. Chapter 1095. 1 versus 5. Wait, something's wrong with that Valkyrie. Doesn't it seem like she's starting to become translucent? You have that feeling as well? Quick look. That Valkyrie is starting to disappear. Right after Abandoned Wave gave the command to retreat, a sudden change to the Valkyrie immediately grabbed everyone's attention. The Valkyrie's appearance had simply given them too much of a shock. Even Abandoned Wave and the others, who hated Zero Wing down to the bones, had no choice but to give up on Stone Forest Town. However, now that the Valkyrie started facing problems, their hopes rekindled. Seeing this scene, Abandoned Wave immediately interrupted the activation of his return scroll. Everyone, hinder Black Flame and buy our people some time. After Abandoned Wave was sure that the Valkyrie had disappeared, a sinister smile appeared on his face. Lancelot's loot was just too tempting. Most likely, no player would willingly abandon it. Previously, he had already sent a team of assassins to collect the items in secret to avoid detection by the Valkyrie. Now, however, there was no need for such precautionary measures. Currently, Zero Wing had no one present, aside from Black Flame and his 2 NPC guards. Although killing Black Flame might be difficult, plundering Lancelot's loot would be a piece of cake. After all, with the awakened NPC's numerous drop items scattered all over the place, how could one person's looting efficiency outmatch a group's? Once Abandoned Wave gave the command, Peerless and Singular Burial also began coordinating their forces to cooperate with Blackwater's members. Regardless if it was Kite or Anna, neither was in existence that current players could go up against. However, there would be no problems if they only wished to distract the 2 guards for a short period. Particularly, they still possessed magic arrays in their hands. As long as they found the opportunity to trap Kite and Anna using these magic arrays, killing the silenced Black Flame would be child's play. After Xueqi picked up another item, he suddenly discovered over 1,000 players converging on his location. Dozens of the previously stealthed assassins have also begun making bold moves. Without hesitation, Xueqi dashed towards the obelisk. Currently, not only was he silenced, but he was also in a weakened state. He would simply be asking for a beating if he challenged 1,000 elite players. Not to mention, the experts of the Red Jade Legion were among these players. As for Kite and Anna, both of them had already been trapped in magic barriers and were currently fighting against a group of players and one-horned humanoid monsters. The 2 gods had no attention to spare for him. Shortly after Xueqi started running towards the obelisk, his pursuers stopped cold. A legion of 1,000 players had suddenly appeared beside Xueqi. Meanwhile, the person leading this legion was none other than Star Moon Kingdom's renowned snow goddess, Gentle Snow. So it's guild leader Snow. Abandoned Wave laughed involuntarily when he saw Gentle Snow. I was originally planning to take care of you slowly. I never thought you would actually send yourself to me. Charge. Get rid of them all. He had a very clear understanding of Gentle Snow's strength. Although she was indeed quite strong, the people on his side were not unknown nobodies, either. Just the Red Jade Legion Peerless led had several refinement realm experts. Although both sides were roughly equal in number, in terms of quality, his army definitely surpassed Gentle Snow's. In accordance with Abandoned Wave's command, Peerless led 4 refinement realm experts and charged at Gentle Snow. As for Singular Burial, he led a group specifically to deal with the silenced Xueqi. Your opponent is me. When Gentle Snow noticed Singular Burial heading towards Xueqi, she threw her great sword at the man. Death throw. If you wish to deal with our guild leader, you need to get through me, Lightning Blade, first. At this time, a guardian knight appeared beside Singular Burial and wielded his square shield to receive the great sword. Meanwhile, Singular Burial did not even try to dodge the oncoming great sword as he continued making his way to Xueqi. He was very familiar with Lightning Blade's strength. Heaven's Burial's current strongest MT was probably the level 41 Lightning Blade, who could hold his ground against a high lord of the same level all by himself without using any skills. Defending against a player's attack would be a walk in the park for him. Pang! When the great sword collided with his shield, Lightning Blade had to take 4 steps back, damage of over -2,000 appearing above his head. Although this amount of damage was nothing to him, who possessed nearly 30,000 HP, an extraordinarily ugly expression still surfaced on his face. Why is her strength so powerful? After Lightning Blade stabilized his body, he looked at Gentle Snow somewhat fearfully. The equipment he currently wore could definitely rank near the top in the current god's domain, particularly with the epic bracer he had on right now. The bracer increased the effect of strength contained within his attacks by 20%. Even if he was going up against a berserker of the same level, he was confident of surpassing the latter in a contest of strength. For the great sword Gentle Snow threw to actually force him back by so many steps. Gentle Snow's strength was simply unbelievable. Meanwhile, facing the encirclement of Peerless and his 4 companions, Gentle Snow waved her hand lightly. Suddenly, 3 dazzling, divine spears appeared around her. Peerless and the others immediately felt as if they had sunk into a muddy swamp, their movement speed and attack speed decreasing significantly, and they could only watch as the 3 divine spears flew at them. Along with the clangor of metal, 3 of the 5 players perished instantly. Only Peerless and another swordsman remained alive. How did she suddenly become so powerful? Didn't they say that she had entered the refinement realm just recently? Peerless had an ugly expression on his face as he stared at Gentle Snow. His eyes filled with confusion. Currently, however, the most shocked wasn't Peerless, but Gentle Snow. Right before the battle began, Xueqi had actually passed her a fragmented legendary item, the 7 Luminaries battle armor. Although a chest plate mainly increased a player's defensive capabilities, the additional strength it provided allowed her combat power to undergo a qualitative change. The 7 Luminary spears that came with the activation of the 7 Luminaries domain allowed her to display strength rivaling that of a great lord of the same level even without activating a berserk skill. As a result, the massive gap in strength allowed Gentle Snow to fend off the attacks of Peerless, Singular Burial, and the others single-handedly. The disparity was so great that she was even overwhelming Peerless and the others, causing the pressure on them to grow increasingly heavier. How did she become so powerful? Abandoned Wave was filled with shock. Before, Gentle Snow's true strength only allowed her to go up against 1 refinement realm expert. Going up against 2 at the same time was definitely beyond her. Yet, after vanishing from the public eye for just a short time, she was now actually capable of going up against 5 refinement realm experts at the same time. She had even managed to kill 3 instantly. This feat was utterly inconceivable. Just as everyone was stunned by Gentle Snow's performance, Xueqi finally arrived before the massive crystal ball atop the obelisk. System: do you wish to use 10,000 magic crystals to repair the seal? Without hesitation, Xueqi clicked yes. The 10,000 magic crystals he obtained from Heaven's Burial immediately disappeared. The massive amount of mana contained within the magic crystals then began returning the sealing crystal ball to its original state rapidly. At the same time, the purple barrier that had previously disappeared also enveloped Stone Forest Town once again. Chapter 1096. Wildly Arrogant. When the purple barrier appeared around Stone Forest Town once more, the excited members of Blackwater could not help but stare at their surroundings. The magic barrier didn't just reduce their combat power. Most importantly, it prevented them from leaving Stone Forest Town. On the other hand, Zero Wing could send in reinforcements continuously to whittle down their forces. At this moment, Abandoned Wave's complexion also turned extremely pale as he stared at the disguised Xueqi, who was standing at the top of the obelisk. As long as the magic barrier existed, none of his forces could leave the town. Moreover, Lancelot's loot would remain in an ownerless state for 2 hours after the items first appeared. As long as the players holding those items died, the looted item would drop from their corpses. 2 hours were more than enough for Zero Wing's reinforcements to arrive and wipe them out. What a devious plan! Yuan Tixin, who was observing the battle from Saimu Town, felt a hint of fear towards Xueqi after witnessing this scene. With this, Blackwater, Heaven's Burial, and Pantheon are truly finished. Thinking about it now, Xueqi was truly a terrifying existence. Not only did he possess extraordinary strength, but he was also an incredible strategist. Despite going up against Blackwater's powerful army, Xueqi had actually managed to wear it down bit by bit, weakening it to such a state. Even a veteran like Yuan Tixin, who had fought plenty of wars before, was horrified by Xueqi's capabilities. From beginning to end, this war had been under Xueqi's control. By the time Blackwater's members realized this, everything was already too late. Currently, Blackwater no longer had a numerical advantage. Neither did it possess experts of superior quality. It didn't even hold a terrain advantage. Uncle Yuan, now that Zero Wing has already won this war, are we still going to look for Black Flame? Purple Jade asked. She was not interested in this war in the slightest. However, through this war, her need to challenge Black Flame to a fight had further solidified. Of course we're still going. Or to put it in another way, because Zero Wing has won, we have even more reason to visit him, Yuan Tixin replied, laughing. Although Zero Wing had won this war, Stone Forest Town was in ruins. Zero Wing could not sustain itself with just the income of the Candlelight trading firm. Right now, the guild was in dire need of a new source of income for coins. Otherwise, it would very quickly fall into stagnation, something it could not afford to happen, particularly during this period when the experts of the various large guilds were reaching level 41 after another. If Zero Wing did not have the financial strength to supply its guild members with mounts, it would definitely fall behind the other guilds. Meanwhile, the secret pavilion could provide Zero Wing with cities and markets to develop in. Yuan Tixin was not worried about not being able to obtain the magic tower design at all. Time passed quickly. Inside Stone Forest Town, the members of Blackwater, Heaven's Burial, and Pantheon began to assault the obelisk desperately. MTs, open a path for us. Healers, pay attention to healing. Assassins, sneak inside. As long as we destroy the magic crystal on top of the tower, we will be able to leave this place. At this time, Abandoned Wave himself was also participating in the battle, giving out commands while he fought against Zero Wing's members. Whoever manages to break that crystal, I'll give them an epic item. Peerless and Singular Burial also nodded in agreement with Abandoned Wave's decision. After all, they had obtained a total of 26 items from Lancelot. Meanwhile, Zero Wing had managed to get only 2. If they had to pay 1 epic item to bring the 26 items away, the trade would definitely be worth it. Hearing this, everyone immediately started fighting with even greater desperations. In the current God's domain, the higher the level 1 reached, the more difficult it was to obtain high-quality weapons and equipment. Ordinary players already treated dark gold items as godly items, not to mention epic items. As elite members of their respective guilds, obtaining an epic item was practically a dream. In God's domain, be it dungeons or ancient ruins, the more dangerous a place was, the easier it was to obtain good weapons and equipment. However, the requirement in individual combat standards and basic attributes for entering these locations were considerably high. Dark gold items were not comparable to epic items. To elite players like them, an epic item could provide them with significant improvements. It was their ticket to the world of experts. The expert players present had mostly reacted in the same manner. After all, even super guilds had obtained only a limited number of epic items, which were then provided to an extremely small number of qualified apex experts. What suicidal maniacs! Even Gentle Snow felt somewhat pressured as she fought off the oncoming horde of players. The enemy was fully intent on trading blow for blow. If not for the healers providing sufficient healing, she would have long since drowned in the sea of players. However, this kind of attack method had also opened a path to the obelisk. Leading hundreds of elite players, Abandoned Wave, Peerless, and Singular Burial charged into the obelisk. The interior of the obelisk consisted of a spiraling staircase that continued all the way to the top of the structure. Just as everyone was about to reach the top of the tower, a figure in black suddenly appeared before them, blocking their path forward. The instant this figure appeared, Abandoned Wave and the others involuntarily stopped their advance, their eyes filled with fear as they looked at this figure. This figure was none other than the guild leader of Zero Wing, Black Flame, the man also known as the Sword King, who was the #1 expert of Star Moon Kingdom. If it were before this war, everyone present would only feel some reverence towards Black Flame. They definitely would not fear him. However, after witnessing Black Flame's frightening performance in this war, even if one did not try to recall those scenes, their hearts would immediately palpitate in fear at the sight of the blue long sword in Black Flame's hand. Black Flame. Do you think you can hold off so many people just by yourself? Although Abandoned Wave similarly felt fearful, the current situation was different from before. Not only was Black Flame in a weakened state right now, but Abandoned Wave had even silenced him just a while ago. Most importantly, the staircase they were standing on provided much more space than the narrow hallway before the underground secret room. They had enough room for over a dozen players to attack Black Flame at the same time. Looking at the tense expressions his opponents were making, Xueqi simply shrugged and chuckled as he said, "How will I know if I don't give it a try?" Arrogance. Peerless abruptly executed charge on Xueqi, lifting his shield as he rushed at Xueqi. The other melee players in the group also began circling around Xueqi, intent on surrounding him. Immediately after, Singular Burial also shot out numerous arrows to prevent Xueqi from dodging sideways. If Xueqi was not weakened and silenced, they might have to be wary of him. Now, however, they had no reason to fear him whatsoever. Without even trying to evade the rapidly approaching shield warrior, Xueqi chose to clash directly with Peerless. Pang! Along with the sound of metal clashing, Peerless felt as if he had just collided with a truck, his body, which was as huge as a bear, involuntarily taking a few steps backward. Everyone could not help but be dumbfounded. Peerless was one of Pantheon's apex shield warriors, yet a swordsman, who was both weakened and silenced, actually forced him back. You! Peerless was inwardly dismayed as well. Others might not know how powerful Xueqi's attack was, but Peerless knew very clearly. Unless Xueqi possessed strength rivaling a high lords of the same level, it was practically impossible for him to achieve such an outcome. Yet, how could a weakened player possibly have strength rivaling a high lords of the same level? Chapter 1097. Might of the Sword King. Although Peerless was dismayed, he very quickly regained his calm. He might not be a match for Xueqi in a frontal confrontation, but he wasn't alone. Right now, over a dozen level 40 experts had already surrounded Xueqi. Even if Xueqi's strength was great, he was not invincible. As long as Peerless continued distracting Xueqi, the others would have an opportunity to take advantage of the weak points Xueqi exposed. In addition, unlike the time at the hallway before the secret room, Xueqi did not have any healers supporting him this time. I'll figure out a way to block his attacks. You guys find an opportunity to attack from his blind spot. Peerless commanded secretly through the team chat. The 15 melee experts nodded silently in response, and they began watching Xueqi's every move. Once Xueqi launched another attack against Peerless, they would take action at the same time. Then, even if Xueqi had 6 arms and 3 heads, he wouldn't be able to defend against them. Moreover, aside from melee players like themselves, Singular Burial was also looking for an opening from a distance. At this moment, Singular Burial carefully retrieved a black arrow from his bag. The instant this black arrow appeared, Abandoned Wave, who stood beside him, felt like death was imminent. Black Flame, you should feel proud that you forced me to use this black arrow. Singular Burial's eyes were filled with reluctance as he looked at the black arrow in his hand. He had obtained 5 of such arrows from some ruins and had used 2 of them recently to deal with a field Grand Lord. He had never imagined that he would use one of the remaining 3 arrows on Black Flame. However, he still considered this to be a worthwhile trade. Time was of the essence right now. If they did not kill Black Flame soon, the other Zero Wing members would be able to catch up quickly. Singular Burial knocked the arrow and drew his longbow into a full moon. The black arrow locked on Black Flame's body. After everyone was ready, Peerless activated Shield Wall and dashed at Xueqi. Not only could the Tier 1 Shield Wall skill reduce the damage taken by its user, but it also possessed the ability to resist impact forces. As long as Shield Wall was activated, even a Great Lord couldn't force him back by a single step. At the same time, the 15 other melee players surrounding Xueqi promptly used their most powerful skills. Berserkers Beheaded. Guardian Knight's Holy Slash. Assassin's Absolute Strike. Swordsman's 5 consecutive slashes. All kinds of killing moves were used. Even a domain realm expert would not be able to defend against all these simultaneous attacks. In the next moment, just as Peerless was about to arrive before Xueqi, the latter suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight. This move was none other than Void Steps. It was footwork capable of causing the opponent's mind to actively ignore the user's presence, making it seem as if one had suddenly disappeared. Not good. Reacting very quickly, Peerless immediately stomped his foot, executing Thunderclap. The ground instantly cracked, the skill inflicting a certain amount of damage to all targets within a certain range. At the same time, targets hit by the attack would also have their movement speeds reduced. Peerless intended to use this skill to prevent Xueqi from utilizing Void Steps normally. However, he was still a step too late. When Xueqi reappeared, he was already standing beside a berserker, his sword slashing up at a 45-degree angle towards the berserker. Before the level 40 berserker could react, a blue streak of light cut through his neck. So fast. The assassin positioned beside the berserker felt his neck grow cold when he witnessed this scene out of the corner of his eyes. Only after the strike hit did the berserker react. He hurried to twist his body, instinctively executing Whirlwind Slash to repel Xueqi. However, before the berserker's body could start rotating, the abyssal blade in Xueqi's other hand pierced through the side of the berserker's armor and stabbed straight into his heart. Instead of pulling the magic weapon out directly, he sliced through the front of the berserker's chest, dealing another blow to the berserker. Immediately after, Xueqi spun around to the berserker's back. Killing Ray described an arc, and just as Xueqi arrived behind the berserker, the sacred sword also stabbed into the berserker's back and again hit his heart. Minus 13,976. Minus 5,738. Minus 6,417. Minus 17,233. Everyone only saw 4 sword lights passing through the berserker's body before the berserker, who had over 20,000 HP, collapsed to the ground. Combat Technique 4 Moon Lotus. This was a basic combat technique that all swordsmen needed to learn. In God's domain, the silence debuff was something players commonly encountered. Although a silence state was a nightmare for ordinary and elite players, it hampered the combat prowess of an expert player only slightly. This was because they could utilize combat techniques to make up for the loss of their skills, although combat techniques placed a much greater burden on a player's stamina and concentration. In terms of pure power, while combat techniques were inferior to in-game skills, the former was not subject to cooldown. Combat techniques could also be used while silenced. Hence, so long as one was an expert, they would generally have a few combat techniques under their belts. Not only could combat techniques be used to make up for one's lack of combat power when their skills were on cooldown, but combat techniques could also be used to add variation to one's attacks. Due to this flexibility, even an expert with average equipment could easily beat an elite player with superior equipment senseless. The instant the berserker died, everyone felt a chill crawling down their backs. This gorgeous attack was simply an eye-opener for everyone. However, the truly shocking thing was the damage Xueqi dealt the level 40 berserker. Be careful. He's no longer in a weakened state. Peerless shouted. Previously, he had been wondering why Xueqi possessed such strength despite being in a weakened state. Initially, he ascribed it to a special effect of equipment that multiplied his strength. However, after seeing the movement speed and attack speed Xueqi displayed, in addition to the damage he dealt, Peerless became certain that the current Xueqi was already back to his peak state. At Peerless' warning, ugly expressions appeared on everyone's faces. The reason they had joined the vanguard was their belief that Xueqi's attributes had been reduced, and that they could utilize their advantage in attributes to offset the gap in techniques. However, now that Xueqi had already recovered his attributes. In reality, Xueqi himself had been surprised when he noticed that his weakened state was lifted so soon. Unexpectedly, the life essences actually served to hasten one's recovery from a weakened state. Otherwise, he would not have dared to come and stop Abandoned Wave and the others so casually. However, he did not give his opponents much time to think, immediately executing void steps and charging towards another player. The various melee players had already been only a short distance away from Xueqi. Now that they were charging up to him one after another, Xueqi just needed to use void steps once to arrive beside another player. Without utilizing any skills, Xueqi succeeded in reaping another person's life using only void steps and 4 Moon Lotus. Before Peerless could even try to stop Xueqi, the latter had already killed a total of 5 players. Nobody could defend against Xueqi's 4 Moon Lotus. Xueqi was like the god of death. Whomever he appeared beside would inevitably die. At this moment, everyone finally understood why the secret pavilion had dubbed Xueqi One-Hit Azura. The pressure of death caused everyone's body to feel extremely heavy, their movements turning sluggish. Black Flame, time to die! At this moment, Singular Burial, who had constantly been searching for an opportunity, grinned as he released the bowstring and sent the black arrow flying upward. Shio! The black arrow broke through the sound barrier as it shot towards Xueqi's heart. What a fast arrow! Xueqi had long since taken notice of Singular Burial's actions. However, when he saw the approaching black light, he still could not help but be shocked. At the critical moment, Xueqi instinctively crossed his swords before him directly in the arrow's trajectory. Boom! Xueqi immediately felt his hands going numb, his body forced through the air by the arrow as his HP continuously decreased. It felt as if he had just received a meteor with his swords. After recovering from his momentary daze, he moved his swords, deflecting the arrow. Suddenly, a black arrow could be seen flying towards the top of the obelisk. At this moment, less than half of Xueqi's 30,000 plus HP remained. Chapter 1098. Extravagant Combat Method. The black arrow shot straight upwards and stopped only after it hit the ceiling of the obelisk. The arrow then transformed into particles of light and disappeared. That was close. The sight of the arrow prompted a thought to pop into Xueqi's head. The black arrow, is it? The black arrow was an item left behind in ancient ruins. It was somewhat similar to magic scrolls, and when used, it could display extraordinary destructive power. This destructive power corresponded to the player's own strength. However, the black arrow's power could go up to Tier 4 at most. But even when used against Tier 4 mythic monsters, the black arrow could still heavily injure them. As it was an item that could be found only in ancient ruins, the black arrow was still considerably rare in God's domain. In the past, each black arrow sold for a minimum of 300 gold on the market. It was a treasure that many expert teams dearly wished to possess. After all, mythic monsters were simply too powerful. If they could heavily injure such a monster and reduce its combat power slightly, they would have a much easier time dealing with it. Using a black arrow was equivalent to paying 300 gold in exchange for the life of a mythic monster. Such a trade was sure profit. Of course, even if a mythic monster were heavily injured, it still would not be easily killed. Its combat power would definitely remain above a Grand Lord. Hence, teams still needed to have a certain amount of strength. Fortunately, Singular Burial was only a Tier 1 ranger. If he were Tier 2 right now, he would be able to display the black arrow's full power. In that case, Xueqi would have to activate absolute defense or suffer death. Even so, the black arrow was plenty frightening already. In just a little more than a second, Xueqi had lost over half his HP. Had he delayed in deflecting the arrow by even one more second, He would have really died back there. He didn't die. Singular Burial was stunned by this outcome. Although the Black Arrow might not be as powerful as a Tier 4 single-target spell, its might was not something a Tier 1 player could easily defend against. After all, Singular Burial had sent a Great Lord flying over 20 yards and inflicted heavy injuries when he had used the Black Arrow before. Nevertheless, Singular Burial's arrow allowed the melee players, who had surrounded Xueqi, to breathe out a sigh of relief. Brother Burial, I never thought you would actually possess such a trump card as well. We'll be mainly relying on you to deal with Black Flame from now on. As long as you kill Black Flame, we'll let you have the first pick of the loot, Abandoned Wave said. Previously, he already felt helpless when he witnessed Xueqi's horrific strength. He had never imagined that Singular Burial would still bring him such a pleasant surprise. Peerless similarly had his hopes rekindled as he nodded in agreement with Abandoned Wave's words. Singular Burial had taken away over half of Xueqi's HP in just a single attack. As long as he struck him again, the latter would undoubtedly die. Xueqi's death would break the myth of Zero Wing's guild leader's invincibility. At that time, Zero Wing would definitely receive a huge blow to its reputation. Alright then. Leave it to me, Singular Burial said, gnashing his teeth. He then retrieved the 2 remaining black arrows from his bag. However, his reaction speed is too fast. Moreover, now that he is prepared for my attacks, it will become much more difficult to hit him. You guys need to think of a way to pin down his movements for a moment. Leave it to us, Peerless and Abandoned Wave said boldly. Previously, they hadn't been confident of dealing with Xueqi, who had recovered to his peak state. However, now that they had Singular Burial's black arrows, they had no problem with distracting Xueqi whatsoever. Immediately, Peerless and Abandoned Wave had the players still capable of using Berserk skills step forward. A total of 8 players had Berserk skills ready for use. 2 Elementalists and 6 melee players, which included Peerless. Xueqi's basic attributes were indeed heaven-defying. However, after they used their Berserk skills, their attributes would still be slightly superior to his. With 6 melee players and 2 Elementalists working together, they could suppress even a Great Lord for a short period, not to mention Xueqi, whose attributes were still beneath a Great Lord. Go! Under Peerless' command, the 5 other melee experts activated their Berserk skills together with Peerless. With their attributes increased significantly, they charged at Xueqi, who was currently recuperating at the rooftop. At this moment, Xueqi took out an intermediate regeneration potion and drank it. His HP instantly recovered back to 20,000, then began slowly rising bit by bit. Seeing Peerless charging at him, Xueqi promptly executed Void Steps, avoiding an entanglement with the Shield Warrior. This move of yours is already useless against me. Very quickly, after pinpointing Xueqi's location, Peerless used Earth Slam. The skill could place all targets within an area of 8 by 15 yards before him into a fainted state. Xueqi's Void Steps was indeed powerful. However, Peerless had also gradually gotten accustomed to the technique after seeing Xueqi using it multiple times throughout this battle. Although he was only able to catch a blurry view of the swordsman, he could more or less still perceive the direction of Xueqi's movements. In the next moment, Xueqi became visible within the range of Earth Slam. Immediately, the other 5 melee experts executed their own control skills one after another. The 2 Elementalists standing at the rear also summoned ice walls to surround Xueqi completely. If Xueqi wanted to retreat, he would have to spend a moment shattering the ice walls. This brief period would be more than enough for the 5 remaining melee players to land their attacks on the swordsman. As long as even a single control skill struck Xueqi, his death would be certain. This was also one of the strong points of in-game skills. If an expert player did not possess any control removal skills or they were silenced, just a handful of elite players working together could defeat them. Right when the 5 melee players were about to reach Xueqi, they suddenly stopped moving. What's going on with you all? Peerless bellowed. However, Peerless suddenly felt that something was amiss when he noticed the HPs of the 5 players decreasing rapidly. He instinctively took a step back and, at that critical moment, avoided the shadow spreading on the rooftop. With a swing of his sword, Xueqi shattered the ice wall blocking his front. He then looked at Peerless, who was roughly 15 yards away from him, feeling somewhat surprised. His reactions sure are fast. The shadow on the floor was none other than the effect of the Tier 2 magic scroll Shadow Strangulation, which could bind all enemies within a 15-yard radius as well as deal 50% dark damage to them every second for 5 seconds. By the time the 5 melee experts reacted and were about to use their control removal skills, Xueqi was already unfurling another Tier 2 magic scroll, Spears of Judgment. Immediately, 36 holy spears appeared around him, each one capable of 80% holy damage with 100% strength effect. Moreover, they also ignored defense and dealt double damage to dark creatures. Shill, shill, shill. The 36 spears shot straight at the 5 melee players. Despite all 5 of them being experts, with the spears under Xueqi's control and fired at such a short distance, each melee player managed to block only 2 or 3 spears at most, with the remaining spears hitting their bodies. All 5 melee players transformed into particles of light and disappeared on the spot. Everyone stared, stupefied at this situation. They never thought that Xueqi would actually use magic scrolls to make up for his silenced state. Magic scrolls were extremely precious, not to mention Tier 2 magic scrolls. Each one was easily worth a piece of dark gold equipment. Normally, it would be considered a luxury to use Tier 2 magic scrolls against ordinary bosses. Nobody would be willing to waste them on just a few players. Nevertheless, Xueqi really was using them one after another. Moreover, each one was more valuable than the last. Die! At this moment, Singular Burial finally found an opportunity to attack. He immediately loosed the 2 knocked black arrows. The black arrows instantly transformed into 2 streaks of black light as they flew towards Xueqi. With how fast the black arrows were, Xueqi did not have time to use another magic scroll to defend himself. Just when the arrows were less than 10 yards away from him, Xueqi began executing Sword's Orbit, surrounding himself in starlight. Pang! Pang! 2 clear sounds of metal clashing rang out. Xueqi went flying backwards by over 10 yards, his hands nearly losing their grip on his swords. His HP began rapidly decreasing as well, only stabilizing after falling to slightly below 7,000. The 2 black arrows had their trajectories forcefully altered and, as a result, simply flew by Xueqi's sides. Impossible! Isn't he still silenced? Singular Burial could not believe what he was seeing was true. Xueqi was actually still alive. Chapter 1099. Town Promotion Order. Is he a monster? Everyone was stupefied when they saw that Xueqi survived Singular Burial's attacks. Previously, a single black arrow had reaped over half of Xueqi's HP. Yet now, despite receiving 2 black arrows, he lost less than half of his HP. All ranged players, focus fire on him. He doesn't have much HP remaining. While everyone else was frozen in shock at Xueqi's feat, Abandoned Wave quickly reacted and took out a dark gray magic scroll from his bag. Tier 2 Magic Scroll. Death's Flurry. Immediately, 8 gray blades of wind swept toward Xueqi. At this moment, the other ranged players also began launching their own attacks one after another. However, Xueqi had no intention of simply waiting for his death. Executing Void Steps, he disappeared before everyone once again. The incoming attacks just passed through his original position, not a single one landing on him. Damn it! He actually recovered so quickly. The corners of Abandoned Wave's eyes twitched when he saw this scene. Hurriedly he commanded, "Everyone, form a defensive formation and advance." Void Steps was truly mysterious footwork. Even with how powerful Peerless was, the shield warrior could only make out a blurry figure of Xueqi if the latter was within a radius of 20 yards. Beyond that range, he could not detect the swordsman at all. As for Abandoned Wave and everyone else, not to mention 20 yards, even if Xueqi were standing within 10 yards of them and launching an attack on them, they wouldn't notice a thing. Hence, the only method to deal with this problem was to advance in a defensive circle. This way, Xueqi would have no opportunity to approach Abandoned Wave, who was inside the circle. Peerless had also immediately entered the defensive circle, fully prepared to protect Abandoned Wave. Right now, Abandoned Wave carried all of Lancelot's loot they obtained. If he died, all the loot would definitely drop. While having a single person carry all the loot was a risky move, having multiple people carry them would give Zero Wing an easier chance to target them, and make it more difficult to protect the loot. Anyhow, Abandoned Wave himself was a level 40 assassin. In terms of combat standards, He was also a considerably powerful expert. As long as he entered stealth, he could easily escape detection. Faced with Abandoned Wave and the others slowly advancing defensive formation, Xueqi would appear sporadically before players standing at the outer edge, reaping a life before disappearing again. If he had enough time, he would even kill 2 players. What a tough turtle shell. Xueqi was rendered speechless by his opponent's actions. He had already used up all the AoE attack magic scrolls he had on hand. There were only a few single-target attack and control magic scrolls left, not enough to affect the overall battle at all. However, if he tried jumping over, they would definitely discover him while he was in the air. Players in midair could not change their movement trajectory. They would be sitting ducks. However, if he was greedy and went for more kills each time, he would very quickly lose his life under a barrage of attacks. After all, his opponents were not ordinary players. They coordinated well with each other, and their attacks were also very accurate. Moreover, he normally couldn't finish off a player with just 1 or 2 moves without executing a combat technique. Having no other choice, he could only chip away at the formation. As the number of players dwindled, Blackwater's members fell into an endless panic. Those standing at the outer layer of the defensive circle, in particular, were trembling with fear, dreading becoming the next sacrifice. Xueqi was simply too fast. Not only were his appearances sudden, but even his attacks were impossible to detect. Moreover, by the time they began launching their counterattacks, Xueqi had long since disappeared. Yet, they also weren't allowed to give chase. These guild elites and experts finally came to understand what an expert really was. Compared to Xueqi, those experts that boasted the ability to go up against 10 or 100 opponents by themselves were simply weaklings. If faced against those kinds of experts, Blackwater's members could still put up a modicum of resistance. Xueqi, however, instilled so much fear into their group of several hundred players that they did not even dare to move. Moreover, when he was attacking them, the only thing they could do was await their impending doom. Time passed by quickly. Due to the defensive formation, Abandoned Wave and the others advanced at a crawl. Consequently, Xueqi managed to gradually whittle the team of several hundred players down to just 100 or so. Right now, however, the group was only 100 yards away from the ceiling crystal ball. Upon seeing the gigantic crystal at the peak of the tower, everyone with Abandoned Wave revealed expressions of joy and relief. As long as they shattered the crystal ball, the barrier surrounding the town would disappear once again. They could then find a hiding place and use their return scrolls instead of just quietly waiting for their deaths here. Good. We're close enough. All assassins and rangers, charge forward and destroy the crystal. Everyone else, continue advancing in the defensive formation. Abandoned Wave, who had been in stealth all this time, commanded softly. Previously, they had been too far away from the crystal ball. Xueqi would have wiped them out long before anyone could even enter within attack range of the crystal ball. Now that only 100 yards separated them from the crystal ball, if Xueqi stayed back to try to target Abandoned Wave, the crystal ball would undoubtedly be destroyed. However, if he chose to target those assassins and rangers instead, those in the defensive formation could speed up their advance. Abandoned Wave could even use the opportunity to sneak away himself. Currently, Zero Wings members had already surrounded the obelisk. If not for the other members of Blackwater incessantly trying to charge into the obelisk, the other Zero Wing members would have long since rushed up here. Immediately, over a dozen assassins and rangers raced madly for the crystal ball. Having no other choice, Xueqi could only chase these players. Fortunately, the path towards the crystal ball was not very wide. Before the assassins and rangers even entered within 40 yards of the crystal ball, Xueqi had already disposed of them all. However, this situation also allowed Abandoned Wave and the others to advance a significant distance. Right now, the group was only 60 yards away from the crystal ball. We won. At this moment, Abandoned Wave was ecstatic. Although they were still 60 yards away, ranged players had an attack range of 40 yards. Hence, realistically, they only needed to cross another 20 yards. There was no way Xueqi could wipe out their team of nearly 100 elite and expert players before they crossed these 20 yards. As long as the magic barrier was gone, Abandoned Wave could immediately bring the loot back to Star Moon City. Although he had suffered massive losses in this war, the loot from Lancelot should offset a considerable amount of his losses. Previously, he had browsed through the items they obtained. Several among them would be of massive help to a guild's development. At the very least, Blackwater would be much better off than Zero Wing. After all, the latter had lost Stone Forest Town. However, just as Abandoned Wave was jubilating, Divine Sword suddenly began raining down on his group, damage of over -10,000 appearing above everyone's heads. This move was none other than Shifeng's Skywheel Sword, a skill capable of sealing all enemies within a 20-yard radius for 4 seconds. As a result of this attack, Abandoned Wave was also revealed. At this moment, Abandoned Wave stared at Shifeng, who stood 40 yards away from the crystal ball, in shock. Impossible. How can he use skills again? 10 minutes shouldn't have passed yet. Abandoned Wave was filled with confusion. Peerless and Singular Burial were similarly dumbfounded at this situation. However, Shifeng did not give them much time to react. He immediately raised Killing Ray and executed Lightning Edge. Although Abandoned Wave was correct in that less than 10 minutes had passed since Shifeng was silenced, he had forgotten that players had their own natural resistances. Shifeng's magic resistance could give even magical class NPCs a headache. Magical resistance not only reduced the magic damage players received but also weakened the side effects of magic. In reality, while Abandoned Wave was focused on figuring out how to destroy the sealing crystal, Shifeng was buying time for himself. In the end, Shifeng made it at the last moment. One wave came after another, countless lightning bolts devouring everyone. Despite Abandoned Wave activating Wind Steps and Vanish, he still could not last through the 5-second duration of Lightning Edge. By the time the skill ended, only Shifeng and a pile of loot remained on the rooftop of the obelisk. Word of Abandoned Wave's and the others' deaths quickly spread to everyone fighting desperately inside Stone Forest Town. The death of the commander would affect a guild's performance considerably. This situation also wiped out the last hope Blackwater's members held. Their morale plummeted, making them much easier to deal with. Meanwhile, Shifeng himself had collected all the loot Abandoned Wave's group had dropped and began arranging them one by one. Midway, however, he noticed an item in his bag that captured his attention. The item was a square silver token engraved with the image of a lion. There were also a few words written on it. Town Promotion Order. Chapter 1100. Overlord of Star Moon. In front of a temple lined with pillars, a team of 20 players was currently resting atop the stone steps. A short distance away from these players was a two-headed bear over 10 meters in height. If one paid close attention to the bear, one would discover it to be a level 60 Grand Lord. Even a 100-man elite team of the same level would be no match for something like this. Yet, this 20-man team actually defeated it. The highest-leveled player in this team was already level 42, with the majority being level 41. As for the equipment they wore, even the most inferior piece was level 40 dark gold equipment. This was a team that could rank at the top even in super guilds. However, every one of these people was an independent player. None of them belonged to a guild. Big Sis Endless, what happened? A level 41 female cleric asked when she noticed a surprised expression suddenly appearing on Ling Jingxuan's face. It's nothing. I just read an interesting message, that's all, Ling Jingxian replied, smiling. An interesting message? What is it? The female cleric could not help but ask curiously. Very few things could catch the interest of Ling Jingxian. Generally, anything that could do so was a considerably amazing matter. Blackwater has just been annihilated by Zero Wing. Most likely, news of this matter will quickly spread throughout God's domain, Ling Jingxian answered. The way she spoke made it seem as if this matter was none of her business. Annihilated? At this time, a level 42 Guardian Knight carrying a snow-white round shield on his back joined in on the conversation. Surprised, he continued. There must be a mistake, right? I heard that the Blackwater Guild is considerably powerful. It even has the Blackwater Corporation backing it. How can it possibly lose so miserably? The term annihilated was very rarely used for guild wars. After all, with so many players participating in the war, not to mention annihilation, even trying to wipe out 70% or 80% of the enemy's forces was an extremely difficult proposition. Meanwhile, annihilated was generally used only when more than 95% of a belligerent's forces had been eliminated. In order to obtain such an outcome, One of the two sides in the conflict usually had to be many times stronger than the other. Shaking her head, Ling Jingxian asserted, Blackwater has indeed suffered total annihilation. And it was not only Blackwater but also the armies dispatched by Heaven's Burial and Pantheon. Not a single player from those three guilds managed to leave Stone Forest Town alive. Upon hearing Ling Jingxuan's words, everyone on the team was stupefied. As Blackwater was merely an upstart guild, annihilation was certainly a possibility. However, what about Pantheon? That was a super guild. When had it ever suffered annihilation? Just how powerful is Zero Wing? They are simply too amazing. Even other super guilds have never managed to annihilate Pantheon's armies. Just how did Zero Wing manage to do it? With this, Zero Wing is set for life. They will definitely cause a storm in God's domain. However, I'm guessing that Pantheon won't take this lying down. After all, Zero Wing has used them as a stepping stone. Pantheon definitely will not let Zero Wing off the hook in the future. I wonder what rank Zero Wing will get during this year's Virtual Gaming Guild annual evaluation. It is very likely that Zero Wing will be evaluated as a first-rate guild. However, after this incident, I can't say for sure. I heard that 2 super first-rate guilds have been going downhill recently. They might even get replaced at this rate. I don't think it will be possible for Zero Wing to become a super first-rate guild. However, its position in this year's top 5 rookie guilds should be secure. Right, Endless, seeing as you are paying such close attention to Zero Wing, do you have a friend in Zero Wing perhaps? Although everyone present was an independent player, their understanding of the inner workings of the virtual gaming world was not one bit lacking in comparison to that of members of large guilds. They knew just how powerful super guilds were. It was truly rare to see an upstart guild capable of such results. Friend. After giving the question some thought, Ling Jingxian answered seriously, something like that. In any case, I am certainly concerned about Zero Wing. Due to Abandoned Wave's defeat, the entire Blackwater Guild was in an uproar. Even the upper echelon of the Blackwater Corporation had asked for her to attend a meeting to plan how to quickly redeem this humiliation in the near term. After all, this was the Blackwater Guild's first major war. It would have been fine if they had merely suffered defeat. The crucial point was that they had been annihilated. Even if they managed to destroy Stone Forest Town and inflicted immense damages on Zero Wing, this was still not an outcome to be proud of. In the public's view, the only reason for Blackwater's destruction of Stone Forest Town was its inability to obtain the town for itself. Apocalypse Empire, the Imperial Capital's Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's residence. They wiped out Blackwater? Phoenix Rain felt somewhat skeptical when she read the message she just received. Zero Wing's opponents this time had included 200,000 monsters, over 100,000 Blackwater elite members, 50,000 Heaven's Burial elite members, and 3 core legions of Pantheon, one of which was even the famous Red Jade Legion. In the end, however, Zero Wing still managed to come out on top. No matter how she looked at it, this outcome was somewhat unrealistic. For Zero Wing to have achieved precisely this result was simply unbelievable. Big Sis Rain, should we still make a visit to White River City? Blue Phoenix asked. The competition for Thunder Island this time was considerably intense. Let alone the power of just the Phoenix Pavilion, even if they used the full power of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, their chances of obtaining the rights to the island would still be slim. Moreover, compared to the Town of Beginnings, which they controlled, Thunder Island was much more important. Of course we're going. The more Phoenix Rain read the report in her hands, the more joyous she felt. Originally, she had not been that confident about the matter of Thunder Island. However, after seeing Zero Wing's information, they might have a chance at victory after all. Meanwhile, in Star Moon Kingdom, all the official forums had long since exploded. Practically every player in the kingdom was discussing the war. Blackwater and Heaven's Burial had lost miserably this time. This was especially true for Blackwater. Many guild members were already expressing their dissatisfaction with the leadership in the war. Within just 10 minutes of the war's end, over 10,000 players had withdrawn from the guild, many of them elite players. In addition, the fall of Blackwater and Heaven's Burial allowed the Star Alliance, which had been suppressed all this time, to rise up once again. Meanwhile, on Zero Wing's side, due to its massive victory, many large guilds that initially had designs on the guild gave up entirely. Overwhelming Smile, in particular, had already begun shifting its focus to other countries and no longer tried to develop in the cities around White River City. For a time, no guild in Star Moon Kingdom dared make an enemy out of Zero Wing. This situation allowed Zero Wing to become the uncontested overlord of Star Moon Kingdom. The only fly in the ointment was the loss of Stone Forest Town. This loss greatly depressed the effects of the Zero Wing's hard-earned victory. However, just as the various large guilds in Star Moon Kingdom were secretly celebrating Zero Wing's loss, a surprising situation occurred in Stone Forest Town. The evil energy polluting the town was actually starting to weaken and dissipate gradually. Chapter 1101. Benefits after a Great War. The dissipation of the evil energy quickly attracted the attention of the independent players outside Stone Forest Town. What? Didn't they say that evil energy won't ever dissipate? Based on the information I found, in order to remove evil energy, one needs to sever the source. Could Zero Wing have secretly dealt with the source already? That's not right. The evil energy this time should have originated from Black Ridge Town. However, Black Ridge Town is still the same right now. How did Zero Wing do it then? Everyone was discussing this development. Very quickly, word of this situation spread throughout the entire Star Moon Kingdom. Star Moon City, Blackwater's residence. Impossible! How did they manage to remove the evil energy? Abandoned Wave practically screamed when he read the report he just received shortly after resurrecting. Zero Wing must be faking this information. I can guarantee that the evil energy is impossible to remove. Unlike curses, evil energy could not be cleansed. It was a kind of chaotic energy. Like a contagious virus, it would automatically transform other forms of energy into evil energy. Without eliminating the source, removing the evil energy polluting Stone Forest Town was simply impossible. However, removing the source was easier said than done. Even he did not know the source's exact location. If it was really located in Black Ridge Town, the monster-infested town was not a place current players could approach. Moreover, evil energy was extremely harmful to players. If players immersed themselves in evil energy for long periods, they would get infected and fall into a weakened state. Players exposed to evil energy for too long would even turn into monsters. If that happened, they would be barred from logging into God's domain for a considerable amount of time. Due to these dire consequences, cleaning out the monsters in Black Ridge Town was extremely difficult. Hence, he firmly believed that Zero Wing could not remove the evil energy polluting Stone Forest Town. The only possibility was that Zero Wing was releasing fake news. After all, Zero Wing had previously registered plenty of members at the battle arena they constructed, collecting a hefty sum in membership fees. If the battle arena was gone, those members could seek compensation for their losses. Therefore, the intention behind the release of this fake news was undoubtedly the appeasement of those members. Guild leader, it's true. Our spies in Zero Wing have already confirmed this fact. The evil energy inside the town is indeed gradually dissipating. At this rate, it will take less than 5 days for all the evil energy in the town to disappear completely. By then, Stone Forest Town will be able to resume its operations, Qin Muyun said, an ugly expression on her face as she took out another document. Not only had the Blackwater Guild lost a considerable number of elite members, but the guild's prestige in Star Moon Kingdom had also fallen to rock bottom. Members were withdrawing from the guild every minute. Most likely, they would have to recuperate for a long time in order to return to their previous state. Originally, with Zero Wing having lost Stone Forest Town, Blackwater would have been able to leverage its funds and background to quickly surpass Zero Wing. However, now that Stone Forest Town was all right, whether Blackwater could even surpass Zero Wing's development speed was in question. This was not an outcome that the upper echelon of the Blackwater Corporation was willing to see. This won't do. I cannot let Stone Forest Town continue existing in this world. Although Abandoned Wave was unwilling to accept the truth of this matter, the facts were already before him. In that case, he needed to take action right away. Notify that man immediately. Tell him I'll try to provide him with the players he needs. However, I want him to have his monster army thoroughly obliterate Stone Forest Town within 5 days. Qin Muyun could not help but frown at these words. She never imagined that Abandoned Wave had already lost his prudence to such a degree. Nurturing all those monsters was not easy. Any players sacrificed to them would be unable to log into God's domain for several days. Blackwater's elite and expert players had already lost a level from this war. If they were sacrificed again. What are you still standing there for? Abandoned Wave glared at Qin Muyun. Don't forget that I am still the guild leader right now. Helpless to do anything about the situation, Qin Muyun had no choice but to contact the bandaged man. Black Flame. Just you wait. This time, I will definitely make you pay a heavy price. Abandoned Wave laughed coldly as he looked out his window, his eyes staring in Stone Forest Town's direction. Inside Stone Forest Town, Zero Wing had also begun cleaning up the battlefield. This war had been considerably intense. Over half of Stone Forest Town's buildings lay in ruins. The guild residence was an irreparable mess. Even the battle arena had received significant damages and would take a considerable sum of money to repair. However, their gains far exceeded their losses. Although the army of 200,000 monsters had not dropped any weapons or equipment, they had dropped plenty of monster materials. The drops from Lord rank monsters were rare materials that could be used to make weapons and equipment. In addition, monsters at the chieftain rank or above had a fixed chance of dropping a kind of gray crystal called the Evil Energy Crystal. To ordinary players, this item would be garbage that they would sell to NPC merchants for spare change. However, Shifeng knew the real use of the Evil Energy Crystals. This was something a master forger had discovered in the past. If one added Evil Energy Crystals or Magic Crystals during the forging of weapons or equipment, there was a certain probability these crystals would give rise to magic patterns on the items produced. However, the enhancement effect was random. The enhancement might be to the item's basic attributes, its attack power or defense, or even its hidden attributes or additional skills. Hence, the Evil Energy Crystal was highly sought after by forgers in the past. In Shifeng's previous life, there was even a case where a dark gold weapon produced using Evil Energy Crystals received attributes nearly rivaling that of epic weapons. Compared to epic items, dark gold items were much easier to produce. Hence, in the past, a single Evil Energy Crystal could easily sell for 10 gold coins. Even at this price, obtaining one was extremely difficult because after reaching the mid-late stage of the game, many players no longer equipped the weapons and equipment they got from monsters. Instead, they would use items tailor-made for them by forgers. Players would naturally hope that the weapons and equipment produced would be strong. Consequently, players swarmed to whichever kingdom the evil god's temple appeared in. Meanwhile, among the 200,000 monsters that assaulted Stone Forest Town, many were at chieftain rank or above. As a result, Zero Wing raked in a hefty profit, gathering 2,428 Evil Energy Crystals in all. That was 24,280 gold coins at the very least. After including the other materials dropped by the monsters, they had earned more than enough money to repair Stone Forest Town. Not to mention, even after taking into account the weapons and equipment Zero Wing's members lost in the war, they had netted an additional 114,633 pieces of weapons and equipment from the combined army of Blackwater, Heaven's Burial, and Pantheon. The most inferior items were level 35 bronze equipment with even level 40 dark gold equipment in the mix. Even after giving out spoils as compensation and rewards to guild members, the amount left was still staggering. After Shifeng read the statistics reports Aqua Rose and Gentle Snow gave him, he fell into a daze for a long time. Although he had experienced plenty of large wars in the past, none of them had been as profitable as this one. Guild leader, people from the secret pavilion are asking to meet you. Chapter 1102. Constructing a Holy Land. They're looking for me? Shifeng could not help but recall the offer Yuan Tiexin had made him before. He then continued, have them wait at Candlelight's main headquarters for now. I'll head over shortly. This war had damaged Stone Forest Town beyond recognition. Most likely, the town would not be able to resume normal operations for a considerable amount of time. In other words, Zero Wing would lose a major source of income. Meanwhile, reconstruction would cost a lot of coins. However, selling the Evil Energy Crystals would undoubtedly be a very foolish move. Moreover, the function of the crystals was still unknown to everyone but himself. How could he possibly reveal it to others? Yet, just the income from the Candlelight trading firm was not enough to fund the reconstruction. Not to mention, he also required money to build his city. There was indeed a need to have a proper chat with the secret pavilion. Among the superpowers in God's domain, the secret pavilion was undoubtedly the richest. Just the income from the expert lists it released every week was an astronomical amount. There were also the consultation fees it earned from selling information. It would be foolish of him not to take advantage of the situation when such a wealthy client delivered themselves up to his doorstep. Just as Aqua Rose was notifying the secret pavilion about the meeting place, Gentle Snow walked over and reported, "Guild leader, many independent players are currently voicing their wishes for us to reopen Stone Forest Town right away, particularly the players that are members of the battle arena. They are asking for us to immediately reopen the town's battle arena. Otherwise, they are going to ask for their magic crystals back. Should we prioritize the repairs of the battle arena first to appease these members? If they continue making a fuss, there will most likely be many players seeking to withdraw their membership." As the vice guild leader of Zero Wing, Gentle Snow had some detailed information regarding Zero Wing. So, she was very clear just how poor Zero Wing currently was. In the past, she had always thought that Zero Wing was definitely the wealthiest guild in Star Moon Kingdom. After all, it had the Candlelight Trading Firm and Stone Forest Town providing it with income. The amount of coins these two places raked in each day could make even the guild leaders of first-rate guilds envious. However, when she took a look at Zero Wing's accounts, they might as well be a blank sheet of paper. It really made her wonder just where the money Zero Wing earned was going. Gentle Snow had no idea that while Zero Wing was indeed earning a lot of coins, it was spending even more. The expenditure of gold coins was in the tens of thousands. Are they in such a hurry? After giving the situation some thought, Xueqi chuckled and said, "All right then. Tell them that they may withdraw if they want to. However, once the town is reconstructed, the membership fee for the battle arena will be increased to 1,200 magic crystals. Moreover, rental for the combat rooms will be doubled. If they wish to withdraw their membership, I very much welcome them to do so." This, Gentle Snow could not help but stare at Xueqi, stunned. They would practically be chasing away their customers if they did so. Previously, the membership they charged was already out of reach for most independent players. Only a fool would be willing to pay 1,200 magic crystals. Not to mention, if they doubled the rent of the combat rooms, it might even affect business at the battle arena. "Relax. Just tell them as is." Xueqi waved his hand, not bothering with additional explanations. Previously, he had focused on running Stone Forest Town as a small town that even ordinary players could enjoy. Now, however, he had changed his mind. He intended to turn Stone Forest Town into a holy land for PvP. Now that there were 3 magic towers in Stone Forest Town, the ambient mana density was much higher than before. Just the cost of maintaining the 3 towers was extremely high. Retaining the current prices was simply impossible if Zero Wing wished to keep the 3 towers in operation. Most importantly, he now had a town promotion order in his hands. Xueqi never dreamed that Lancelot would actually drop such an item. Although this town promotion order was only secret silver rank, it was enough to promote a basic town directly into an intermediate town. This was a treasure that many guilds dreamed of obtaining. No guild would be willing to trade it away even for 20 epic items. Getting a town promoted was a challenging proposition in God's domain. It was also very time-consuming. Any slight instability or security problem might cause several days' worth of effort to go to waste. With the town promotion order, however, Xueqi would be able to promote Stone Forest Town into an intermediate town, bypassing the NPC population requirement altogether. He would also be able to hire up to 2,000 NPC guards. At the same time, he could construct real defensive structures instead of basic ones like the defense turret. The size of the town would also increase by multiple times. With this, Stone Forest Town would be able to accommodate many more players instead of having players squeeze against each other as they walked through the streets. A larger town would definitely attract more players. He was not worried about losing visitors at all. Once Stone Forest Town was promoted, he could also level up all the structures inside it, expanding them significantly. Take the battle arena for example. Currently, it was only a 5-story building. Once the town was promoted, however, the battle arena could have up to 8 floors. After including the underground level, the battle arena would have 9 floors in total. With this, the number of customers they could receive each day would increase substantially. By then, Stone Forest Town would become a true money-making machine. However, there was a prerequisite to all of this. And that was money. Moreover, it had to be a considerable sum. Upon hearing Shifeng's response, Gentle Snow helplessly informed everyone of the new rules in Stone Forest Town. As for Shifeng himself, he used a return scroll to travel to White River City. The new rules immediately enraged many independent players. Zero Wing is simply going overboard. Who would be willing to pay a membership fee of 1,200 magic crystals? They are even doubling the rent now. Do they think our money grows on trees? I'm going to get a refund. Only a fool would visit Stone Forest Town in the future. If I had that kind of money, I might as well spend it at the Divine Colosseum. The spies Blackwater planted in Stone Forest Town began making a ruckus over the new rules, though many independent players did find their words reasonable. Although the mana density in Stone Forest Town had indeed increased slightly and would be beneficial for improving their strength, the new prices were simply beyond the reach of ordinary players. Even elite players would not be able to afford to train in the battle arena for long periods. For a time, many battle arena members requested refunds, feeling that Zero Wing was trying to cheat them out of their money. While Aqua Rose and Gentle Snow were grappling with this matter, Shifeng was seated on a sofa inside a VIP room on the second floor of White River City's Adventurers Association, leisurely browsing through the designs of intermediate towns. Players had many templates of intermediate towns to choose from, and each template had their strong points. Likewise, different templates had different prices. Some templates were more suited to economic development through NPCs. Such templates allowed the town's popularity to increase much more rapidly. Similarly, there were templates geared towards economic development through players. In addition, some templates facilitated the hiring of powerful NPC guards. In any case, many kinds of templates were available depending on the kind of a town that players wished to construct. Unlike capturing a town, promoting a town cost much less. Moreover, as Shifeng was using a promotion order, the expense was even lower. He only needed to spend 3,000 gold to promote Stone Forest Town to intermediate town status. After applying his identity as a city protector, he would receive a 20% discount and need to pay only 2,400 gold in total. This savings freed up more money, which would allow him to choose better templates. Sure enough, the templates available here are quite inferior when compared to the one dropped by Lancelot. Taking a careful look, Shifeng noticed some templates that were only made available to him due to his city protector title. Even so, none of them could match the town design dropped by Lancelot. Shifeng then turned to the NPC beauty standing at a side and took out an ancient design from his bag. Softly he asked, "If I wish to use this design here, how much will it cost?" Chapter 1103. Grandmaster Design. Taking a look at the design Shifeng revealed, the NPC beauty's eyes widened as the design demanded her full attention. Only after some time did she open her mouth and say, "Lord Protector, the quality of these construction materials and level of skill required are extremely high for this design. I cannot provide an immediate answer. I will have to ask the association leader to appraise the design. Would my lord be willing to wait here for a short moment?" "Even you can't give an exact price?" Shifeng asked the female senior administrator. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. In the Adventurers Association, NPCs were categorized into ordinary staff member, administrator, senior administrator, vice association master, and association master, each catering to adventurers from 1-star to 5-star status. Anyone capable of becoming a senior administrator even had the insight and knowledge to rival NPC lifestyle masters. Although this design is tattered, I am certain that a Grandmaster produced it. A Grandmaster's town design is outside of the scope of my appraising abilities. In our branch, only the association master can appraise this, the senior administrator explained, smiling bitterly. "All right, let the association master appraise it, then." Shifeng nodded. When promoting a town in God's domain, choosing the design was only one part of the process, while using the design to construct the town was another. The promotion process was not as simple as capturing a basic town. One could say that a town only truly began its operation after becoming an intermediate town. The Adventurers Association normally provided players with many template designs to choose from, their prices usually ranging from 1,000 to 3,000 gold. The Adventurers Association would only offer several master designs to someone who enjoyed the status of a 4-star adventurer, such as himself. These templates could cost anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 gold. Master designs were roughly 15% better than those of normal designs. Although 15% seemed like a small difference, it would be massively effective in an intermediate town. For example, when that bonus was used to increase the town's popularity among NPCs, a town which could originally gain 100 popularity points each day would gain 115 points with a master design. Normally, a lot of manpower and resources were required to gain that additional 15 points. In addition, master designs attracted more quests and events that would raise the town's popularity, allowing the town to reach the next rank far more quickly. Of course, players could opt to produce their own town designs. Only, the majority of players' designs wouldn't come close to the Adventurers Association's ordinary templates. Extremely few lucky players or genius designers could draft a town design better than the available templates. If a player created such a design, the various large guilds in God's domain would fight over purchasing it, offering roughly 3,000 gold. If the design reached the master standard, the minimum price would be 5,000 gold. However, extremely few players could create designs of such standards. These people were even rarer than master forgers. Among the 28 items Lancelot had dropped, 20 were epic materials. Of the remaining 8, 3 were epic weapons and pieces of equipment: a cloth armor headdress, a staff, and a pair of plate armor bracers. The bracers were the best among them in Xueqi's opinion. Angry Tyrant, plate armor, bracers, epic rank. Level 40. Level 100. Equipment requirement: Strength 1200. Defense plus 755. Level 40. Strength plus 60. Agility plus 32. Endurance plus 35. Ignore levels plus 5. Ignore 20% of the target's defense. Increase the effect of strength by 15%. Additional passive skill 1 dash. Blood Frenzy. When the wielder's HP falls below 50%, strength increases by 20%, attack speed increases by 30%, and damage received increases by 20%. Additional passive skill 2 dash. Angry Blow. When attacking, there is a certain chance to increase strength by 100%. The bracers were a collection of violence. The increase to the effect of strength in particular was rare even on epic weapons and equipment. Without hesitation, Xueqi took the bracers for himself. With this, he had a total of 5 epic items and 1 fragmented legendary item on his person. After including the level 50 magic light set equipment, his strength was even higher than a tier 2 berserker of the same level. Only his physique and skills were still somewhat inferior. As for the 5 remaining items, 2 were tier 4 magic scrolls, 2 were designs, and the last one was the town promotion order. When Xueqi had discovered that one of the 2 designs was a town design, he had been ecstatic. Normally, town designs dropped in the field came from masters. That was the equivalent of saving 5,000 gold. Moreover, Xueqi very much preferred this town design's heavy emphasis on transportation. Transportation might not seem very important, but it had a considerably special town effect. Once the town was complete, as long as the town spent a sufficient amount of money, it would unlock the transport carriages between towns. Not only could these carriages transport players, but they could also allow NPC merchants to reach the town more quickly. It was a design capable of enhancing the town's popularity among both players and NPCs. Now that he had confirmed that this was a Grandmaster design, Xueqi felt the Holy Land for players beckoning him. A Grandmaster design was 30% stronger than normal templates. In the past, even an ordinary Grandmaster design could sell for tens of thousands of gold, much less these designs at this stage of the game. Right now, Xueqi wouldn't sell the design even if he were offered 1 million gold. When Xueqi thought about the carriages that would soon travel back and forth from Stone Forest Town, his heart beat madly. At this stage of the game, mounts were extremely rare. The carriages could save players a lot of time when traveling to Stone Forest Town. Players would be far more willing to stay in Stone Forest Town. Even when mounts became popular in the future, how could a common mount compete with a carriage? Moreover, the carriage's speed was not always the same. Once Stone Forest Town became an advanced town, the carriages would upgrade to advanced carriages. Only with a mysterious iron mount could one match the speed of an advanced carriage. Once transportation was no longer a barrier, what player wouldn't want to visit Stone Forest Town? Setting aside the battle arena, now that Stone Forest Town had 3 magic towers, independent players could enjoy double the benefit of resting in a hotel. Right now, the town's hotels were only slightly less effective than private rooms in a guild residence. Normally, independent players could only dream of having this effect. With these 3 major conditions, Stone Forest Town would undoubtedly become a holy land for players. After Xueqi waited in the room for a short while, the NPC administrator returned to the room with his town design. Lord Protector, our association master has appraised your design and confirmed it to be a Grandmaster design. However, as the requirements for this Grandmaster design are extremely high, the construction fee will be many times more expensive than usual. Including all of the required materials, it will cost 30,000 gold. Moreover, this price cannot be discounted. May I know if Lord Protector still wishes to use this design to construct your town? 30,000 gold? Xueqi frowned. He had thought the price might be quite high, but he hadn't expected it to be this high. That was 30,000 gold. He could build 5 towns with a master design with that kind of money. Chapter 1104. Intermediate Town. Xueqi felt his head ache when he heard the administrator's price. In reality, this was considered cheap. An intermediate town shouldn't have appeared at this stage of the game. In the past, the first intermediate town had only appeared after mainstream players had reached level 60. During that time, Tier 2 expert players were commonplace. Right now, however, mainstream players weren't even level 40. Guild mainstream players could earn money far more quickly at level 60 than level 40. Following which, Xueqi gave up on constructing his town and stored his Grandmaster town design before leaving the VIP room. Town reconstruction was only one of the benefits of an intermediate town. Reconstructing the town was not necessary to reopen it to the public. Currently, Xueqi lacked coins. Hence, he could set this matter aside for now. In any case, Stone Forest Town had already been successfully promoted to an intermediate town. The Grandmaster design wasn't going anywhere. He could simply operate Stone Forest Town as usual. It would not be too late to reconstruct the town after a few more days of earning money. In the Candlelight Trading Firm's second-floor lounge, Yuan Tixin and Purple Jade both sat quietly inside the lounge. Uncle Yuan, I'm afraid that we'll have trouble completing this trade. For some reason, the evil energy in Stone Forest Town is gradually dissipating. It is only a matter of time before Stone Forest Town recovers. Zero Wing won't be interested in our conditions, Purple Jade said after she finished reading the information the secret pavilion had sent her. Smiling, she said, Blackwater, Heaven's Burial, and Pantheon have suffered greatly. Not only have they failed to obtain Stone Forest Town, but they have also lost all of the members that they had dispatched. This is the first time Pantheon has suffered such a massive loss since joining God's domain. They definitely have a mess to clean up. The relationship between the virtual gaming world's superpowers was not as peaceful as everyone thought. If given the opportunity, these powers would be more than willing to choke their rivals to death. After all, every game's resources were finite. If they had one less competitor, they could claim far more resources for themselves. Pantheon had lost 1 trump card legion and 2 core legions in this war. That was a total of 3,000 experts. This would be a significant blow to any super guild. The loss of the trump card legion was particularly severe. Any player capable of joining a super guild's trump card legion could reach the trial tower's 6th floor at the very minimum. Such experts were considerably rare in first-rate guilds. In the eyes of ordinary players, those who reached the 5th floor were already considered experts, much less the 6th floor. Zero Wing is truly unpredictable. Yuan Tixin shook his head and laughed. No wonder they aren't afraid of mutual destruction with Blackwater. However, this doesn't affect our plans in any way. Even if Stone Forest Town recovers, it will take a considerable amount of time and resources. Meanwhile, Candlelight Trading Firm cannot wait that long. It is even more so for Zero Wing. He had not talked through his hat. Currently, both the Blackwater and Heavenly Trading Firms were pressuring the Candlelight Trading Firm. Although Candlelight still held considerable influence in Star Moon Kingdom's market and maintained its daily traffic, How long would that last? Both the Blackwater and Heavenly trading firms were marking down their prices and selling their items at a loss. They could also keep this up for a considerable amount of time due to their abundant funds and powerful connections. However, what about the Candlelight trading firm? The Candlelight trading firm had neither abundant funds nor powerful connections. Its only capital was Stone Forest Town. There was no way Candlelight could win a price war against the Blackwater and Heavenly trading firms. Moreover, without sufficient coins, Zero Wing could not continue to develop. Now that Zero Wing was in the limelight, this was the perfect opportunity for the guild to develop and widen the gap between itself and Blackwater. If Zero Wing only continued its development after Blackwater recovered, the guild would be in big trouble. If Blackwater decided to take action against Zero Wing again, it would take more precautions and would not be caught off guard as it had been in this war. Furthermore, Zero Wing currently had an agreement with the Secret Pavilion to hand over the bronze mounts and strengthening devices. These items were considerably expensive. Obtaining them would not be that easy. If Zero Wing wished to earn more coins, working with the Secret Pavilion was undoubtedly the best decision. Just as Yuan Tianxin and Purple Jade were quietly discussing Zero Wing's situation, Shifeng, currently disguised as Black Flame, entered the lounge. What a powerful mental oppression! Yuan Tianxin was shocked when he laid eyes on Shifeng. Meeting the man in person felt massively different than watching Shifeng on the screen. Although Shifeng had hidden his weapons and equipment's glow effects and sheathed his aura, Yuan Tianxin, with his bountiful experience, immediately sensed the dangerous atmosphere coming from Shifeng. This swordsman felt like a dragon lurking in the water. 6 epic items? Upon closer inspection, Yuan Tianxin's lips involuntarily twitched. In God's domain, the difference between epic items and dark gold items wasn't limited to their aura effects. There was also a huge difference in the materials used to produce them. Even if Shifeng tried to hide his items' glow effects, players who were familiar with the materials could easily recognize the item's quality. Yuan Tianxin had researched the various materials available in God's domain precisely to gauge others' strength. After all, there were too many experts who preferred to keep a low profile in God's domain. If he knew how to determine equipment quality, should he come across an independent expert, he might be able to recruit them into the Secret Pavilion. As for his enemies, he could use this knowledge to gauge their strength and respond appropriately. Uncle Yuan, are you sure? Purple Jade was slightly doubtful when she heard Yuan Tianxin's words. Even their guild leader did not have as many as 6 epic items on him. At most he had around 3. Epic items were simply too rare. Even Grand Lords rarely dropped them. Hence, even now, she only had 2 epic items. Even so, many of the guild's upper echelons were incredibly jealous of her. Of the 2 epic items, one was a weapon while the other was a pair of shoes. She had obtained the shoes during a fortuitous encounter. However, that encounter had cost her a level and plenty of effort. As for the weapon, the guild had given it to her due to her status as the guild's top genius. Even a genius like Cold Autumn had not received an epic item. Yet, Shifeng had 6 epic items. Anyone would question this matter. Do you doubt this old man's judgment? Yuan Tianxin could not help but roll his eyes at Purple Jade. Although he was no match for the little girl in terms of potential, he could rank among the top 5 in the guild when it came to judging item quality. 6 epic items. Is this the secret to Black Flame's strength? As Purple Jade quietly watched Shifeng approach, her will to challenge the man to a fight was immediately extinguished. Only those who used epic items knew their strength. If 2 combatants had roughly equal combat standards, the one with 6 epic items would trample over the one with only 2. Furthermore, her standards were weaker than Shifeng's. By challenging him right now, she'd only ask for a beating. After Shifeng took his seat and before Yuan Tianxin spoke, he received a message from his guild. Stone Forest Town has been promoted to an intermediate town. Chapter 1105. Golden Cities. Yuan Tianxin fell into a daze after he read the message. An intermediate town. Although the Secret Pavilion had captured many towns, they were all still far from becoming intermediate towns. Uncle Yuan, what happened? Purple Jade asked curiously when she noticed Yuan Tianxin's long stretch of silence despite Shifeng's arrival. Yuan Tianxin finally reacted, returning his gaze to Shifeng with a perplexed look. Just when he thought that he had uncovered all of Zero Wing's secrets, he felt as if he knew nothing about the guild once again. Did Zero Wing truly lack a background as he had thought? Yuan Tixin did not respond to Purple Jade's question. Instead, he smiled at Shifeng and said, I really must congratulate you, Guild Leader Black Flame. Not only did you defeat Blackwater, but you've also promoted Stone Forest Town to an intermediate town. Although Yuan Tixin smiled, inwardly, he was extremely frustrated. Now that Zero Wing ruled over an intermediate town, he had no choice but to place greater importance on the guild. An intermediate town occupied far more land than a basic town. It also had more features. If one called Stone Forest Town a mountain of gold when it had been a basic town, then as an intermediate town, it was a diamond mountain. Setting aside Stone Forest Town's proximity to the Stoneclaw Mountains, its battle arena alone could earn Zero Wing a fortune. Furthermore, plenty of companies would want to open their own virtual shops in the town. Previously, Stone Forest Town was as valuable as 4 or 5 basic towns. The town attracted many companies. Unfortunately, Zero Wing's asking price had been too high, causing many of these companies to shy away. However, now that Stone Forest Town had become an intermediate town, even a fool could see its value. Most likely, Zero Wing's previous conditions would no longer deter companies' investments. Tons of companies would definitely be willing to invest in the town regardless of the cost. Right now, Zero Wing did not lack coins, credits, or players. It had even earned its prestige. Zero Wing's future was limitless at this point. The conditions he had prepared to offer Zero Wing would most likely be of little interest to the guild now. Thank you, Shifeng replied politely. He then smiled and continued, if you have come to purchase the Magic Tower design, I'm sorry to say that Zero Wing has no intentions of selling it. Guild Leader Black Flame, you jest. The secret pavilion has already given up on purchasing the design. Instead, in exchange for constructing one magic tower for us, we would like to offer you high-potential lands in 5 major cities, each with player populations in the millions. How about it? Yuan Tixin asked. After giving the situation some thought, rather than trying to obtain the magic tower design, he would opt for the next best thing. However, when Purple Jade heard this, she was shocked. How valuable were major cities' high-potential lands, exactly? The various large guilds had already bought out these lands. They were impossible to purchase for a reasonable price, yet Yuan Tixin had just offered 5 of the lands for one magic tower. Your offer is quite tempting. However, I have to refuse, Shifeng responded, shaking his head. These 5 plots of land were easily worth 30 or 40,000 gold in total at the moment. Moreover, their value would undoubtedly rise as time passed. Even if he rented these lands out, rather than use them himself, he could earn a hefty sum. However, his magic tower design only had 2 uses left. Among them, he had agreed to reserve one for the Town of Beginnings. Even if he traded the remaining magic tower for 5 high-potential lands, the trade wouldn't profit the candlelight trading firm overmuch. Shifeng's straightforward rejection stunned both Yuan Tixin and Purple Jade. Obtaining these 5 plots of land was the equivalent of gaining an additional 5 million customers. Even a super guild's guild leader would pause to consider such an offer, yet Shifeng had rejected it without blinking. Purple Jade even began to wonder if Shifeng truly understood these lands' value. Why else would he refuse the offer so decisively? May I know how much Guild Leader Black Flame wants for a tower? Yuan Tixin asked, gritting his teeth. The secret pavilion was determined to obtain the magic tower. The guild leader had specifically reiterated this in their conversations. I want lands in these cities. There are a total of 20 locations. I believe the secret pavilion should be capable of obtaining them. Shifeng then revealed a list of several minor NPC cities. Most of these cities had populations below 100,000, with some as low as 30,000. These cities were also spread out, covering 11 kingdoms and 2 empires. When Yuan Tixin heard that Shifeng wanted 20 plots of land, he nearly cursed at the man. However, when he read the list and noticed that all of the names belonged to minor cities, he was stupefied. Even if he added all of the cities' player populations, the total was less than 2 million. Moreover, the lands in these locations did not have much potential. He could not fathom what was going through Shifeng's mind. However, this was good news for the secret pavilion. Guild leader Black Flame, is this all that you want? Yuan Tiexian asked. He doubted that Shi Feng was so generous. Of course not. I still want a 20,000 gold construction fee. Seeing Yuan Tiexian's skepticism, Shi Feng had no choice but to state a more reasonable price. Truthfully, his price was quite high. Even Shi Feng thought that he was ripping off the secret pavilion. Although these 20 plots of land were not particularly expensive, they served a great purpose. However, even if he wanted to buy these lands himself, he could not. Other large and small guilds already occupied them. These guilds would only part with the lands at a reasonable price if an existence like the secret pavilion took action. In the past, these land cities had been known as Golden Cities. These cities had earned that name due to their proximity to high-level maps that provided diamond wood. Diamond wood was a rare type of wood in God's domain. It was specifically used to produce high-ranking boats. Even if diamond wood were used to produce a common speedboat, that boat standards would almost be on the same level as bronze speedboats. Hence, diamond wood had been incredibly popular among the various large guilds and seafaring adventurer teams. Unfortunately, diamond wood was extremely rare. Many kingdoms and empires lacked maps that provided the wood, including Star Moon Kingdom. Now that he had his own medium shipyard, he had to prepare. In the past, he hadn't had this opportunity. Now that the chance was before him, how could he miss it? Lands in these cities had sold for astronomical prices during his previous life. Back then, 50,000 gold had been the bare minimum to purchase one plot of land. Unlike ordinary materials, players could not store the wood meant for crafting boats in their bag space. Rather, players had to transport the wood at its full size. Moreover, even when the wood reached an NPC town or city, it was still considerably troublesome to transport the wood to its final destination. Of course, players could utilize teleportation arrays to transport the wood. Only, the price of teleporting a single log was far higher than teleporting a player. In the past, the most common transportation method had been transport carriages. However, it would be foolish to transport a single log each trip. Hence, players usually stockpiled the wood before hauling it all at once. However, NPC towns and cities did not permit players to leave piles of items on the streets. If anyone dared to do so, their items would be confiscated immediately. Due to this, the various large guilds had needed warehouses to store the materials. To put it simply, guilds in the past had spent 50,000 gold to purchase warehouses for their diamond wood. Chapter 1106. Advanced Transport Carriage. An additional 20,000 gold? For a moment, Yuan Tiexian fell into deep thought. Fine. However, once we make the payment, you need to begin the Magic Tower's construction immediately. Although the minor city's 20 plots of land and the 20,000 gold was slightly more expensive than the 5 high-potential lands in major cities, the latter's value had far more space to grow. That's fine. When the deeds for those 20 plots of land and the 20,000 gold arrive, we will begin the tower's construction. Shi Feng hadn't expected Yuan Tiexian to agree to his demands so quickly. Although obtaining those lands was a simple task for a super guild, collecting the 20,000 gold was not. Yuan Tiexian's ability to agree so readily showed that 20,000 gold was nothing to the secret pavilion right now. This caused Shi Feng some regret. If he had known, he would have asked for 30,000 gold. After all, super guilds would undoubtedly invest more than 20,000 gold into a town's defenses. A single defense turret already cost 7,000 gold, roughly the same price of constructing a magic tower if it were built by a master lifestyle player. Meanwhile, a guild would need at least 4 defense turrets to defend a town adequately. Unfortunately, 4 defense turrets weren't as capable as a single magic tower. Following which, Shi Feng and Yuan Tiexian signed an agreement stating that the secret pavilion would complete its part of the deal within 2 days. At that point, Zero Wing would be required to construct a magic tower in Ice Crystal Town within 2 days. Shi Feng was surprised when he saw Ice Crystal Town's name. He had never imagined that the secret pavilion would capture the town. Ice Crystal Town was a border town in the Fire Wing Empire's southwestern region. The town had originally belonged to a dark force, and the majority of the town's NPCs were Tier 2. There were even several Tier 3 NPCs in charge of the town. Even the Fire Wing Empire had to consider actions against the town carefully. However, this town was precisely the reason that the Fire Wing Empire had given up on evicting the dark forces in the area. One could just imagine how difficult it would be for players to raid the town. Although Ice Crystal Town appeared ordinary, it was the closest town to the neutral map, Sunset Mountain Range. As a neutral map, the Sunset Mountain Range did not fall under the influence of any kingdom or empire. The map was also roughly half the size of a kingdom. As no kingdom or empire had ever developed the map, it had far more resources than the various kingdoms and empires. Moreover, many races lived in that map. Without the many restrictions that were usually found in kingdoms and empires, many dark forces often operated in the map. Players could also find items there that were not available in kingdoms and empires. Sadly, players couldn't teleport there. They could only travel to the map on their own power. Ice Crystal Town's popularity among players would undoubtedly surpass Stone Forest Town if someone could obtain it. Pioneering the Sunset Mountain Range would be considerably convenient for a guild. As expected of the secret pavilion, it actually managed to secure Ice Crystal Town so early in the game. Xueqi was fairly envious. The Fire Wing Empire's player population exceeded Star Moon Kingdom's by many times. For players, Stone Forest Town's sole attraction was the Stone Claw Mountains. However, the regional dungeon had a level 50 limit. Once mainstream players exceeded that limit, the town would lose its appeal. On the other hand, the Sunset Mountain Range's limit ranged between level 50 and 120. Ice Crystal Town would be popular in the Fire Wing Empire for a long time. If a magic tower were built in the town, it could easily garner 3 to 5 times more players than Stone Forest Town. However, Xueqi gave the matter little thought. Zero Wing was only starting to get on the right track. How could it possibly compete with a well-established guild like the Secret Pavilion? Moreover, he had earned a fortune through this transaction. Only, he wouldn't see the profits immediately. Once his shipyard officially opened for business, those 20 plots of land would begin to show their true value. The high-level maps near those minor cities had yet to be developed. No one had noticed the benefit of constructing boats with rare wood yet, either. Now was the perfect time to purchase diamond wood in bulk. Once he had trained enough lifestyle players, he would have collected enough diamond wood to mass-produce boats. Following which, Xueqi bade Yuan Tixin and Purple Jade farewell. White River City's Teleportation Hall. A constant stream of independent players teleported into White River City. Among them, many immediately set out to inquire about Zero Wing's residence, all of them wishing to join the popular guild. Big Sis Rain, is this really White River City? Blue Phoenix, who wore a black cloak, asked as she observed her surroundings. Elite players wandered throughout the teleportation hall. There were also the members of many large guilds. Among them, there was no lack of level 39 and level 40 experts. Meanwhile, outside the teleportation hall, many players hawked their goods, and their items were just as astonishing. Selling a level 35 secret silver plate armor chest piece. Find me for a private chat if interested. Selling a level 40 mysterious iron weapon. Only magic crystals accepted as payment. Watching the players sell weapons and equipment on the street, Blue Phoenix wondered if they had teleported to the wrong place. At this stage of the game, both level 35 secret silver equipment and level 40 mysterious iron weapons were considered high-quality items. Even in empires, very few players would willingly sell them. Yet so many players did just that in White River City. It was simply inconceivable. Meanwhile, the various adventurer teams present were the most shocking. Many adventurer teams recruited members to head to the Twin Towers Kingdom. The minimum requirements to join these teams were to be level 39 and a full set of level 35 secret silver equipment. Applicants also had to be capable of reaching the Trial Tower's 4th floor. Players who met these criteria would be considered experts in a large guild. Phoenix Rain was also somewhat surprised. Even in Star Moon City, she hadn't encountered such a busy scene. This was the first time she had heard or seen one of a kingdom's major cities surpass the capital. After leaving the teleportation hall, Phoenix Rain quickly noticed a large number of advanced carriages moving about the streets. Hailing a carriage wasn't easy due to so many players fighting for their own. Why is Yuan Tixin here? Just as Phoenix Rain was about to climb into an advanced carriage and head to the Candlelight Trading Firm, she discovered 2 players atop mounts stopped before the teleportation hall's entrance. Both the man and the woman wore black cloaks. Although the cloaks prevented others from seeing their IDs and levels, as the two did not hide their appearances, those who knew them could recognize them easily. This was especially true for Phoenix Rain. When Phoenix Rain saw Yuan Tiexian enter the teleportation hall in such a hurry, her expression shifted. Yuan Tiexian was one of the secret pavilion's upper echelons. He was even one of the guild leader's closest confidants. Very few matters warranted a personal visit from him. The only reason she could think of that would demand Yuan Tiexian's attention was Zero Wing. How many secrets does Zero Wing have? Phoenix Rain could not help but reveal a bitter smile. Following which, Phoenix Rain dispelled the thought as she made her way to the candlelight trading firm. Shortly after Yuan Tiexian left, Shifeng called Melancholic Smile to meet him. Of the two designs Lancelot had dropped, one was a town design, while the other was for a transport carriage design. Chapter 1107 New Product Launch. Over 20 advanced forgers and engineers stood inside one of Candlelight's special forging rooms. These advanced lifestyle players had come at Shifeng's call. As advanced lifestyle players, they were highly valued and had high statuses in any guild. However, when these 20-plus advanced lifestyle players entered the room, they all fell silent, fully focused on the ancient designs spread out on the table. Guild leader, this is... Melancholic Smile rubbed her eyes, not daring to believe what she saw. The advanced transport carriage. Ordinary players might not have much use for this item, but to a manager of a trading firm, it was incredibly important. To her, the advanced transport carriage was worth far more than the bronze engineering locomotive. Not only could the advanced transport carriage transport a large group of players, but it could also transport more goods than the ordinary carriages that NPCs sold. Many important items in God's domain couldn't be stored in a player's bag space. Players were required to carry such items by themselves. The carriages NPCs sold or rented out could only support a few players. Even a bronze carriage could only carry 5 people at a time. And while a bronze carriage could carry plenty of items in its bag space, it could only carry a maximum of 10 items that couldn't be stored in a bag space. Most importantly, these carriages could only travel on official trade routes, which greatly limited their uses. Transport carriages, however, were different. As player-crafted items, they did not have many road restrictions. The basic transport carriage could already hold up to 10 players. In addition, its bag space was larger than NPC bronze carriages, and it could carry up to 30 non-bag items. It was also faster. Normally, non-bag items were very valuable, regardless of whether the items were for an NPC or to sell to other players elsewhere. Delivering such goods was the easiest way to make a profit. Merchant players would even fight over basic transport carriages if they were available on the market, much less advanced transport carriages. The advanced transport carriage could carry up to 20 people. Needless to say, its bag space was leaps and bounds larger than the bronze carriage. It could also carry up to 60 non-bag items. As for its speed, it could compete with mysterious iron mounts. If the Candlelight trading firm could use advanced transport carriages, even if they didn't sell products and focused on logistics, they could make a fortune. Hence, how could Melancholic Smile contain her excitement? You've seen the design for yourselves. I hope that you start producing them quickly. As for the key material, I'll try to think of a way to obtain what you need. For now, start producing whichever parts you can, Shifeng instructed, chuckling at everyone's dumbfounded expressions. While the advanced transport carriage was amazing, its required materials were extremely rare. The Candlelight trading firm might be able to procure most of the required materials, but the main material, green ebony, was extremely difficult to acquire. Even Shifeng could only think of a few places that produced this wood. Moreover, these locations were all very high-level maps. Even the lowest-leveled location was a level 60 map called Crying Ghost Ridge. Unfortunately, it was a neutral map, a forbidden land for current players. Only Tier 2 players would dare to grind there. However, for the advanced transport carriages, Shifeng intended to make the trip. If he had transport carriages, he could open trade routes from Stone Forest Town to other NPC towns sooner than he had planned. Following which, Shifeng had the advanced lifestyle players research the advanced transport carriages components, while he instructed Melancholic Smile to stay behind. After the others left, Xueqi looked a melancholic smile and asked, "What's the situation with the Blackwater and Heavenly trading firms?" Before the war, both the Blackwater and Heavenly trading firms had waged a crazy price war with the Candlelight, hoping to push Candlelight out of Star Moon Kingdom's market while they whittled down Zero Wing's financial strength. Now that Blackwater and Heaven's Burial had suffered such a massive defeat, the two guilds would take some sort of action. This was especially true since Zero Wing urgently needed money. As you've guessed, they have reduced their prices again. They've dropped their light stones prices in particular. Right now, they're selling each light stone for only 30 copper. They aren't even trying to cover their production costs now. Melancholic Smile slowly reported. For current players, light stones were a must-have item. They were also the Candlelight trading firm's most competitive product. Now that the Blackwater and Heavenly trading firms have lowered their prices to 30 copper, one could see how much the two trading firms hated Candlelight. At 30 copper, Blackwater and Heavenly couldn't even cover their production costs. Candlelight trading firm, however, could still make a profit due to their many advanced forgers. In addition, due to the special forging rooms, powerful flames, and other support tools, Candlelight's production cost for lightstones was only 20 copper. Since they want to play, let's humor them until the end. Sell the lightstones for 25 copper each. We'll also start selling the exotic stamina potions. Xueqi did not feel anything in particular about this situation. He had long since prepared for the day when the lightstones would no longer be profitable. After all, the lightstones were a common product in God's domain. He was satisfied with the fortune he had already made off of them. Meanwhile, the exotic stamina potion he was about to launch was different. Candlelight had exclusive rights over the exotic stamina potion's recipe. Its price was also within ordinary players' budgets. This was definitely a must-have potion. Most importantly, this potion would become popular among gathering players. One of players' main sources of income in God's domain was gathering raw materials. However, players consumed far more stamina when gathering materials than in boss battles. Moreover, the rarer a material was, the more stamina players would consume. This resulted in frequent forced breaks and limited gathering times. Once they released the exotic stamina potion, Xueqi refused to believe that players, who preferred to gather materials rather than fight monsters, would pass this new product by. "I'll get it done right away." Melancholic Smile nodded excitedly. The Blackwater and Heavenly trading firm's actions had irritated her. Now that they were about to launch the exotic stamina potion, she wanted to see how those two trading firms planned to compete with Candlelight. Following which, Melancholic Smile reorganized the layout of the Candlelight trading firm's first-floor hall, setting up a counter specifically for the exotic stamina potion. The new counter immediately garnered the attention of many players. "Leader, look over there. Candlelight seems to have launched a new product. Let's head over and take a look." Immediately, a large crowd gathered around the first floor's new counter. "Crap! Isn't this potion a little too amazing? It can actually recover stamina." Chapter 1108. 10 People. Under. Chapter 1108. 10 People. When the crowd read the exotic stamina potion's description, excitement shone in their eyes. As one of the major hidden attributes, stamina played a massive large role in players' everyday lives. However, it was very limited. "Leader, we hit the jackpot this time. This stamina potion is perfect for the Silent Swamp. With this potion, we won't have any problems reaching the swamp's core," a level 38 berserker exclaimed through his team chat. "Why are you in such a hurry? Let's take a look at the price first. If it's too expensive, I'd rather stick to grinding in the swamp's outer region," a level 39 shield warrior replied. However, although his tone was indifferent, anticipation flashed in his eyes. Inwardly, he hoped that the exotic stamina potion was too expensive. The Silent Swamp was a level 40 to level 50 high-resource map. However, as this map was a swamp, players consumed a lot of stamina while moving through it. Moreover, the deeper one ventured into the swamp, the more stamina they consumed. Hence, the various large guilds had avoided sending members there to level up. This provided an excellent opportunity for independent players like themselves to make money and level up quickly. Previously, on their team's first trip to the Silent Swamp, they discovered that the map was a land of treasures. They frequently came across rare minerals and herbs. Although there were a lot of monsters there, if one were careful, they could walk away with a significant harvest. Unfortunately, during this period, more players headed to the Silent Swamp, causing their income from the swamp's outer area to plummet, yet they couldn't venture into the inner and core regions as their stamina consumption would be too severe. If they encountered monsters with nearly depleted stamina, they would undoubtedly suffer a team wipe. However, if they took too many breaks, they wouldn't get far, and their harvest would be quite small. If they could use this exotic stamina potion, they could reach the swamp's core and its abundant resources. At that time, their daily income would skyrocket. Their team would also be able to gather enough money to equip everyone with mounts. By then, they would earn the other adventurer team's envy. As this level 39 shield warrior was occupied with his thoughts, the other independent players surrounding the counter calculated their own potential gains and losses. Quickly look. The pre-sale price is out. Did Candlelight list the wrong price? There must be a mistake. How can the exotic stamina potion be this cheap? The players in the hall cried out in shock when they saw the pre-sale price. The mana mixture the Blackwater and Heavenly trading firms sold only had a duration of 2 hours. The exotic stamina potion, on the other hand, lasted 10 hours. Moreover, unlike the mana mixture, which only increased the user's maximum mana by 10%, the exotic stamina potion increased the user's maximum stamina by 10% and increased stamina recovery rate by 80%. One exotic stamina potion was roughly the equivalent of 5 mana mixtures, yet it only cost 10 silver coins per bottle. It was much cheaper than the mana mixture. How could they believe this? However, even after some time, the NPC manning the counter did not change the price. This situation drove everyone crazy as they panted and stared at the exotic stamina potion sales timer. There were 30 minutes until the exotic stamina potion went on sale. However, none of these players showed any indication of stepping away from the counter. They lined up and waited for the potion's sale. They also contacted their party and team members in secret to gather more money. As players continued to notify others about the exotic stamina potion, news of the potion quickly spread like wildfire. Immediately, it caused a commotion in White River City. To gathering players and players who spent a long time in the fields adventuring, the exotic stamina potion was a godsend. The exotic stamina potion? I never expected Candlelight to sell something like this. With this, we won't have any problems in the ancient ruins in the Twin Towers Kingdom. Send someone to buy the potions immediately. Buy as many as you can. The various guild elite teams preparing to head to the Twin Towers Kingdom promptly made their way to the Candlelight trading firm after receiving the news. The relatively calm Candlelight trading firm instantly boomed with business. Meanwhile, sitting in the Candlelight trading firm's second-floor lounge, Phoenix Rain and Blue Phoenix were shocked over this situation. Big Sis Rain, Zero Wing is amazing. Despite all the effort we've put into gathering information, we have yet to find any items capable of stamina recovery. Yet Zero Wing is about to put one up for sale. Moreover, it's so cheap. With this, Blackwater and Heaven's Burial must be growling in frustration, Blue Phoenix said, giggling as she watched the players line up in the first-floor hall. One could purchase an exotic stamina potion that lasted for 10 hours for just 10 silver coins. That was the equivalent of paying 1 silver per hour. Even ordinary players could afford this. Ordinary players earned a limited income. Aside from spending their money on necessary items, if ordinary players wished to level up quickly or gather more herbs and minerals, they could buy the exotic stamina potion. However, if these players bought the exotic stamina potion, they wouldn't have any money to spend elsewhere for a while. With this, Blackwater and Heaven's Burial's price reductions to attract more customers were now useless. Nodding in agreement, Phoenix Rain said, Zero Wing has indeed grown a lot stronger. It's a pity that we don't have much time left. Otherwise, they could help me win the battle on Thunder Island. She had 2 matters to discuss with Zero Wing this time. The first regarded the Dark Arena. The Azura battle team's next match had been decided, and it would be held tomorrow afternoon. Once the match was over, the Dark Arena would host a large-scale auction. Based on what she had heard so far, all sorts of precious and valuable items would be up for sale. The second matter regarded Thunder Island. Currently, the competition over Thunder Island grew more intense with each passing day. More guilds were starting to reach for Thunder Island. In fact, Nine Dragons Emperor had even employed his family's influence for this matter. Although she, too, had used her family's influence, she still faced many difficulties regarding the island. Hence, she planned to borrow some of Zero Wing's members to assist her. As Phoenix Rain and Blue Phoenix conversed, Xueqi entered the lounge. What a powerful mental oppression! Blue Phoenix was shocked when Xueqi joined them. She had always been curious about the strength of Zero Wing's guild leader. Now that she was meeting the man in person, it would seem that the rumors about him were true. The powerful mental oppression she felt from Xueqi made her feel somewhat strangled. Rather than a player, Xueqi felt like a humanoid monster. Phoenix Rain, however, was not particularly surprised. She had watched the video of Xueqi's battle in Stone Forest Town. Otherwise, she wouldn't have bothered with a personal trip to the candlelight trading firm. May I know why the Phoenix Pavilion Master suddenly requests my attention? Have they announced the competition's official date? Xueqi asked after taking his seat, smiling at Phoenix Rain. Although the Azura Battle Team's opponents had been decided some time ago, the competition's date had been a mystery. This competition in the Dark Arena was incredibly important to him. As more major corporations took part in the Dark Arena, the bets on each match would increase. At this point, it shouldn't be difficult for a winning team to walk away with 20 or 30,000 gold. To Zero Wing, which urgently needed funds, the Dark Arena was an invaluable source of income. You're half correct. The competition will take place at 10 p.m. tomorrow in the Flame Dragon Empire's imperial capital, Phoenix Rain said, chuckling. I'm also here to borrow 10 players from Zero Wing. Chapter 1109. Holy Land at Sea. Under. Chapter 1109. Holy Land at Sea. Borrow some of our players. Xueqi gave Phoenix Rain. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was a super first-rate guild. The pavilion recruited a large number of members each year, and they had tons of guild-nurtured experts. Yet, that same Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had sought him out to borrow manpower. This was inconceivable. That's right. I wish to borrow 10 people to help me with a task. Once the task is complete, I will pay you 5,000 magic crystals. If the task fails, I will pay 1,000 crystals. Of course, I will offer additional compensation should any deaths occur during my loan, Phoenix Rain said, smiling as she nodded. May I know what guild leader Black Flame thinks of this? Normally, when hiring experts to help with a quest, payment was in the form of either credits or coins. An ordinary expert would only cost several gold to hire, while even apex experts only cost around 100 gold. Meanwhile, she had offered magic crystals as payment. Magic crystals were far more valuable than coins. It was a hard currency. The various large guilds already treated magic crystals as a strategic resource. They might be able to purchase 10 or 20 magic crystals from independent adventurer teams or small workshops. But when the numbers climbed into the triple digits, it was practically impossible to find enough on the market. 5,000 magic crystals was a considerable sum for any large guild. Some large guilds didn't even have so many magic crystals in their warehouses. Now, by loaning 10 of its experts, Zero Wing could potentially earn 5,000 magic crystals. This was definitely a tempting offer. Phoenix Pavilion Master, can you reveal the details of the task? Xueqi was indeed tempted after listening to the offer. Aside from running a guild, his goal in establishing the Zero Wing workshop was to accept commissions. However, requests like Phoenix Rain's were rare. That's fine. The task is very simple. I just need Zero Wing's members to defend an ancient tower on Thunder Island, preventing anyone else from capturing it. As Thunder Island is a very special place, only a very limited number of players can be there at a time. When the time comes, our enemies won't be able to dispatch much manpower. It would be a miracle if they could send 20 or 30 players. As long as Zero Wing's members defend their assigned tower until the pavilion's main force captures a monster encampment, the task will be a success, Phoenix Rain explained after giving the matter some thought. News of Thunder Island had long since been spread among God's domain superpowers. It was no big secret. Currently, to secure a larger share of Thunder Island, the various superpowers were recruiting helpers from all over the place. Some had even hired extremely powerful independent players. This was all due to the unique conditions to capture Thunder Island. It was not an issue that could be resolved with a large army. Rather than quantity, one needed quality. Hence, she was asking for Zero Wing's help. Zero Wing had performed magnificently in the Dark Arena. Its members definitely qualified to take part in the battle on Thunder Island. In addition, she had found plenty of Apex experts elsewhere. Although she might not occupy Thunder Island exclusively, she should have no problems taking control of a small portion. When the initial skirmish was over, her next step would be to fight the other super guilds slowly. Thunder Island? Information about Thunder Island immediately surfaced in Xueqi's mind. Thunder Island was in an extremely dangerous sea zone. That zone was known as the Sea of Death. One could find plenty of treasures and fortuitous encounters in the Sea of Death. There were even numerous ancient ruins in the zone. The abundant resources in the sea zone surpassed imagination. Thus, many maritime adventurer teams often explored the Sea of Death. Meanwhile, the only location in the Sea of Death that players could reside in was Thunder Island. As for the other islands in the sea zone, players couldn't survive on them for long periods. Once the night sky covered the Sea of Death, a large number of underwater monsters appeared. There were simply too many of these monsters for players to contend with. Thunder Island was only an exception because the island received thunder and lightning all year round. Even after night arrived, sea monsters couldn't reach the island. Thunder Island became a safe haven of sorts in the Sea of Death. As a result, bloodbaths had been a constant on Thunder Island in the past. The various superpowers in God's domain all wanted Thunder Island for themselves. However, it was not that easy to occupy Thunder Island. In the past, not one of these superpowers had controlled the entire island. In the end, various superpowers jointly operated the Holy Land at sea. Xueqi had visited the island many times in the past. Unfortunately, as his guild had been too weak, they had never qualified to establish a small base in this Holy Land. He had been forced to travel to Thunder Island by boat each time he visited. Xueqi had not expected the war over Thunder Island to begin so soon in this life. This task won't last very long. It'll be over in a day or so, Phoenix Rain added after Xueqi had remained silent. Capturing Thunder Island was different from ordinary towns, where things would end once the target town was captured. In order to gain authority over the town on Thunder Island, one needed to capture monster encampments. The more encampments one captured, the more authority one could utilize. If one captured all of the monster encampments on Thunder Island, they would obtain the highest authority on the island. Meanwhile, this authority contest occurred once a month, with each contest lasting 8 hours. Moreover, during the day of the contest, Thunder Island would be enveloped in an ancient magic array. If one wished to set foot on the island during that time, they needed an entry pass. Without the entry pass, players would be automatically transported off of Thunder Island. Each entry pass allowed up to 10 people to enter the island and could be obtained by killing bosses in the Sea of Death. The Sea of Death was already an extremely dangerous sea zone. It was home to plenty of sea monsters, and these monsters were much stronger than the monsters found on land. The chances of a team wipe were even highly likely when sailing through the Sea of Death, not to mention when hunting bosses in the zone. Currently, the various superpowers were doing their best to find and kill bosses. They had suffered immense losses as a result. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was no exception. Thus, the entry passes were exceedingly precious. These superpowers could not invite ordinary experts to take part in the contest. They would take as many Apex experts to the island as they could. Only by doing so could they utilize the entry passes to their fullest potential. After pondering the situation for some time, Xueqi looked at Phoenix Rain and asked, "May I know how many entry passes Phoenix Pavilion Master has right now?" Hearing Xueqi's question, both Phoenix Rain and Blue Phoenix were stunned. The various superpowers were keeping a tight lid on the entry passes. They had never imagined that Zero Wing would know about this as well. However, when Phoenix Rain thought back to her encounter with Yuan Tianxin, she understood. Although the secret pavilion was not one of the superpowers contesting over Thunder Island, the latter possessed a powerful information network. It was not all that surprising that Xueqi knew about the entry passes. Your information network cannot be underestimated. I won't hide it from you. I currently have slightly over 20 passes. In other words, I can bring over 200 people to compete for prominence on the island, Phoenix Rain said, smiling. Are you interested in a piece of this pie as well? Although she would not underestimate Zero Wing, those involved were God's domain superpowers. They were on an entirely different level compared to Zero Wing. With how few experts Zero Wing employed, the guild would not survive long on Thunder Island. Chapter 1110. Contesting over monster encampments. Chapter 1110. Contesting over monster encampments. Shifeng shook his head when he heard Phoenix Rain's question. Contrary to Phoenix Rain's assumption, he was not particularly interested in Thunder Island. Phoenix Rain found Shifeng's response reasonable. If Shifeng truly understood the situation on Thunder Island, then he knew how fierce the upcoming contest would be. There were already 3 super guilds participating in the contest, not to mention super first-rate guilds. Moreover, the upcoming fights wouldn't be minor. These guilds were dispatching all of their top players. Every one of these existences wanted authority over Thunder Island. This way, they could temporarily establish a guild transfer point and set up a foundation to explore the Sea of Death. After all, the Sea of Death was quite far from the main continent. Even if players traveled from the nearest coastal town on a speedboat, they would have to sail for over a day to reach the Sea of Death. On their way to Thunder Island, players would also have to venture through a dangerous sea zone. One also needed a sufficiently powerful naval fleet to participate in the contest. Sea monsters were more powerful than land monsters, not to mention boss-ranked sea monsters. Even the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had to sacrifice a large number of elites and experts to kill one such boss. They could easily lose up to 30 ships during one of these raids. Even first-rate guilds could not afford such a loss, yet even after so many sacrifices, they would only obtain 1 or 2 entry passes. To Zero Wing, which didn't have a naval foundation, it would likely lose far more than the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion if it tried to join this contest. Give me 20 slots. I can help you defend 2 ancient towers. My price is 20,000 magic crystals and 1 temporary transfer point. If we fail, I won't charge a single coin. I also won't require any compensation for deaths, Shifeng said after giving the matter some thought. It was very difficult to occupy the monster encampments on Thunder Island. The monsters in these encampments depended on the players on the island. These monsters were generally chieftain rank and above. Before players reached Tier 2, the bosses defending these encampments would be fixed as Grand Lords. Including the risk of ambushes by other guilds, the difficulty of capturing an encampment was obvious at a glance. Most importantly, the monsters in these encampments had extremely high defense and magic resistance. It was not possible to raid these encampments normally. One needed the Ancient Towers buffs to lower the difficulty. Meanwhile, the more ancient towers one occupied, the easier it would become to deal with these monsters. However, Thunder Island had a limited number of ancient towers. The various large guilds would definitely dispatch their men to take these towers over, although they would only send a small number of players to do so. After all, the monster encampments were the most important targets. To secure an ancient tower, one would generally dispatch 15 to 20 players, and these guilds usually attempted to occupy 3 or 4 towers. Once they did, with their expert strength, they could take down a monster encampment with roughly 100 players. His offer to defend 2 ancient towers would undoubtedly relieve some of the burden on Phoenix Rain. She would have an additional 10 players to help her occupy a monster encampment. You'll secure 2 ancient towers? Phoenix Rain fell into deep thought. To solidify their hold on the ancient towers, she had previously decided to dispatch 20 players to each tower. Her plan was to send 60 players to capture 3 ancient towers. The other 100-plus players she had would be more than enough to capture an encampment. This was her most conservative plan. Ideally, she wanted to capture 2 encampments. However, this was simply too difficult. If what Shifeng said was true and he could maintain 2 ancient towers with just 20 players, she could save an additional 20 players for herself. If she put more efforts into expanding her fleet, she might even obtain 2 or 3 more entry passes before the day of the contest. By then, she would have a chance of obtaining 2 monster encampments. Only, Shifeng's transfer point condition was somewhat difficult to agree to. For each monster encampment one captured on Thunder Island, they would earn 2 temporary guild transfer points in the town. She had already promised 1 transfer point to another large guild that had agreed to assist her. If not for said large guild, she would not have obtained so many entry passes in the first place. If she accepted Xueqi's offer, she had to secure 2 monster encampments. However, there were too many uncertainties. Moreover, Phoenix Rain found it hard to believe that Zero Wing had so many powerful experts capable of defending 2 ancient towers with just a team of 20. Is there some issue? Xueqi could not help but ask as he watched Phoenix Rain ponder his offer. Guild leader Black Flame, to tell you the truth, each captured monster encampment only provides 2 temporary guild transfer points. Among them, I have already promised one to the Firmament Guild. Although Firmament is only a first-rate guild, the guild has been developing its maritime strength. Currently, its navy is even stronger than many super first-rate guilds. If not for them, I wouldn't have obtained so many entry passes, to begin with, Phoenix Rain explained. Firmament. Xueqi recalled the guild from his past. The Firmament Guild was indeed an overlord at sea. Firmament had occupied 2 coastal NPC cities, which had populations in the millions, very early in the game. These 2 cities served as the foundation for the guild to develop its maritime strength. In addition, Firmament had focused on developing its navy. Although overall, it was significantly weaker than super first-rate guilds, battles at sea did not rely on guild experts. The quantity and quality of the guild ships also played a major role. In the past, even some super guilds had not been a match for Firmament's combat power at sea. It was no wonder why the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had managed to obtain so many entry passes, despite having recently begun its naval development. When will Thunder Island's contest begin? Xueqi asked. The contest will begin in 7 days. However, traveling to the island takes a full day, so we only have 6 days to prepare, Phoenix Rain replied as she gave Xueqi a quizzical look. She didn't understand why Xueqi had asked such a question. 7 days should be enough, Xueqi said, laughing. Phoenix Pavilion Master. How about I make you another offer? Give me 60 slots. As long as your side can hold 3 ancient towers, my side will capture a monster encampment for you. In return, I want 100,000 magic crystals or lands of equivalent value in addition to 1 temporary transfer point. What do you think? When Phoenix Rain and Blue Phoenix heard Xueqi's new proposal, they stared at him in shock. They both believed that Xueqi was insane. While 100,000 magic crystals was not a problem for them, they simply did not understand where Xueqi found his confidence to make such a bold claim. Based on her estimation, under the assumption that they could capture 3 ancient towers as planned, capturing a monster encampment required at least 100 apex experts. Although the guild seemed full of experts to ordinary players, in the eyes of superpowers, Zero Wing only had around 10 truly capable experts. How was Xueqi going to fill the 50 remaining slots? Even if he could dispatch another 50 capable experts, it was impossible to capture a monster encampment with just 60 players. Phoenix Pavilion Master. You originally planned to capture only 1 encampment, right? You should know that the likelihood of capturing a second is quite low. Even if you allow Zero Wing to fight for the second encampment, I'm sure you won't suffer much loss. If you are still not sure, I can sign an agreement. If Zero Wing fails to secure the second encampment, we will pay 100,000 magic crystals. How about it? Chapter 11:11. Improving Strength. Chapter 11:11. Improving Strength. Xueqi's words stunned Phoenix Rain and Blue Phoenix. 100,000 magic crystals was not a small amount. Even the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would not casually play with such a large amount. They never thought that Xueqi would be so confident of capturing a monster encampment. However, even after watching Xueqi for a long moment, neither of them saw any signs of anxiety. Xueqi had remained extremely calm the entire time. After giving the matter some thought, Phoenix Rain said, "Since guild leader Black Flame is so confident, I will agree to your condition." Big Sis Rain. Blue Phoenix could not help but turn to Phoenix Rain in shock. Setting aside Zero Wing's confidence in capturing a monster encampment, losing 60 slots would be a major problem for the Phoenix Pavilion. They only had 21 entry passes. After deducting Zero Wing's 60 players and the 60 players required to defend the ancient towers, they only had 90 remaining slots. Even if they were lucky and obtained another 3 passes in the next few days, attempting to capture a monster encampment with only 120 experts was risky. In the off chance that Zero Wing failed and their side was targeted by other guilds, it was possible that they might end up with nothing at all. If they followed their original plan, however, they could gain at least one monster encampment. Don't worry. I understand the risks. Phoenix Rain did not bother to explain herself to Blue Phoenix. She signed an agreement with Xueqi. As long as Zero Wing captured a monster encampment and secured it until the end of the contest, Phoenix Rain would pay 100,000 magic crystals and one temporary guild transfer point on Thunder Island. After both sides signed the contract, Phoenix Rain left the lounge with Blue Phoenix. As they climbed into the advanced carriage, Blue Phoenix couldn't hold it in any longer. Big Sis Rain, isn't this move a little too risky? 9 Dragons Emperor's group is capable of taking at least one monster encampment down. If we end up with nothing, we won't have leverage against 9 Dragons Emperor. Phoenix Rain was clearly able to reach a draw with 9 Dragons Emperor, yet she had intentionally chosen a more dangerous path. This was completely different from how Phoenix Rain normally operated. Blue, what you're saying is correct. If we follow according to the original plan, we could end in a draw, Phoenix Rain said, chuckling. However, even if Black Flame hadn't suggested such a risky endeavor, when the time came, I would have split our forces to capture 2 monster encampments. I wonder if Black Flame suggested such a crazy plan because he prediction my intentions. In any case, I won't lose anything by agreeing to his proposal. On the contrary, Zero Wing will share the price of failure with us, but that price is more severe for them. Moreover, I am also very curious as to why Black Flame is so confident of taking down a monster encampment with just 60 Zero Wing members. Phoenix Rain's words rendered Blue Phoenix speechless. Phoenix Rain had made such a risky decision simply to sate her curiosity. How was she any different from Zero Wing's guild leader, Black Flame? In the quiet second-floor lounge in the Candlelight Trading Firm. Shortly after Phoenix Rain left, 2 unparalleled beauties entered the room, confusion and helplessness filling their eyes as they gazed at Xueqi. Guild leader, this is a battle between God's domain superpowers. Their strength is on an entirely different level. Aren't we taking too large of a risk for 100,000 magic crystals? Aqua Rose asked, her head aching. Before encountering the secret pavilion simulation training system, she had assumed that there was only a small difference between first-rate guilds and super guilds. However, after training in the system for some time, she finally realized that super guilds were in an entirely different world. Of the secret pavilion's trainees currently in the simulation training system, a large number were already in the refinement realm. One could just imagine how many refinement realm experts the secret pavilion had, much less other super guilds. In comparison, excluding Xueqi, Zero Wing only had 3 people in the refinement realm: Fire Dance, Violet Cloud, and Gentle Snow. While this might be a powerful force in first-rate guilds, this was a paltry amount in the eyes of super guilds. Of course, aside from combat standards, other factors also affected battles with other players such as combat experience, weapons, equipment, skills, and various tools. Why would super guilds' apex experts lack any of these? In the end, the battles would come down to combat standards. Gentle Snow nodded in agreement with Aqua Rose's views. Initially, she had been astonished. She had never imagined that not only did Zero Wing possess a close relationship with the secret pavilion, but even the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's pavilion master had traveled so far to seek the guild's aid. Superpowers upper echelons like these even looked down on the guild leaders of first-rate guilds. Although only a single rank separated the 2 guilds, interactions between them were unheard of. Someone of Phoenix Rain's rank making a personal visit to anything less than a super first-rate guild was practically a dream. Don't we have 7 days? Xueqi shrugged nonchalantly. I just so happen to be free for the moment. I'll help you all train for a bit. Train? Really? Guild leader, you must keep your word, all right? Gentle Snow was confused. Aqua Rose, who stood beside her however, rejoiced when she heard this. Every time Xueqi took them out to grind monsters, not only would their levels rise rapidly, but if they were lucky, they would also get to upgrade their already excellent weapons and equipment. The guild's core members always hoped that Xueqi would lead them. However, we can't have too many people this time. It is very dangerous where we are going. We'll take a team of 20 at most. I understand. Upon hearing Xueqi's instructions, Aqua Rose immediately began to contact the other members. Since Shifeng's goal was to help improve the guild's top combatants, she only contacted the top-ranking players within the guild. Among them were the 10 Azura battle team members and the top players from Gentle Snow's team as well as Alluring Summer. Once they formed the 20-man team, Shifeng led the team to White River City's teleportation hall, teleporting to the closest town to Ghost Forest Town near the Crying Ghost Ridge. Crying Ghost Ridge was a neutral map between the Black Dragon Empire and Star Moon Kingdom. Although Ghost Forest Town was a border town, it was void of players. The nearby maps were all level 60 and above. The monsters here were simply too high-leveled for current players. If one did not wield weapons or equipment that had the ignore level attribute, grinding here was impossible. Furthermore, monsters past level 50 underwent a qualitative transformation. Even level 50 common monsters were significantly stronger than level 45 elite monsters, much less level 60 monsters. It also took nearly 14 hours to reach the Crying Ghost Ridge from Ghost Forest Town on foot. Players simply had no reason to visit the town. However, when Shifeng's team arrived in the town's teleportation hall, they discovered another team of players. Moreover, every player within this team was very high-leveled. They were all level 40 and above. Their weapons and equipment were also off the charts. Most frighteningly, these people were all independent players. The instant Shifeng's group appeared, these players all shifted their gaze towards Shifeng and his team. Their cold killing intent could be felt from over 100 yards away. Chapter 11-12. Midnight Tea Party. Chapter 11-12. Midnight Tea Party. Why would anyone else come here? A robust guardian knight carrying a round white shield on his back frowned when Shifeng's group appeared in the teleportation array. Leader, could they be here for the Fallen Ark as well? A female cleric asked worriedly. A beautiful woman wearing luxurious purple robes looked towards Shifeng's group of cloaked players and said nonchalantly, "They shouldn't be. We rushed over here as soon as we received the message. Moreover, without the key, going there is useless. If they have any ill intentions, we can simply wipe them out." I guess you're right. If they wish to take action, we can use the opportunity to test our new weapons and equipment, another member said, laughing. Shifeng was also surprised when he noticed the team a short distance away, chatting merrily. He hadn't expected to find other players here at this stage of the game. Guild leader, those players are really strong. Fire Dance commented when she saw the independent players, a hint of caution flashing in her eyes. Although the other party only had 20 players, from their movements and auras, Fire Dance could tell that these people's combat standards were very high. These players were no weaker than the apex experts she had previously encountered. And this team had 20 such experts. Normally, only super guilds were capable of forming such a team, yet these players were all independent. With such strength, why have I never heard these people's names before? Gentle Snow was similarly shocked. She had previously been a first-rate guild's guild leader. Naturally, her information network was vast. She had also memorized most of the apex experts in God's domain. However, she had never seen such a powerful independent adventurer team. The most laughable part was that she didn't recognize a single player on that team. From what I can remember, the only adventurer team with this level of strength has to be Owl, the team that joined us in Titan City. When Aqua Rose saw this 20-man team, she could not help but recall Owl. In her opinion, Owl was one of the most powerful adventurer teams in God's domain. She had never imagined that she would encounter another team of such caliber. Guild leader, should we make their acquaintance? Independent teams were different from guilds. They might be able to recruit this adventurer team to Zero Wing. Even if they failed to do so, it wouldn't hurt to know such a powerful adventurer team. In the event that they needed more manpower in the future, they could request these independent players' help. After all, apex experts were extremely rare in God's domain. Gentle Snow nodded in agreement. If they could recruit these players to Zero Wing, it would undoubtedly push the guild to a whole new level. They would also have more confidence in the contest on Thunder Island. Forget it. We have more important matters to deal with right now. We'll get acquainted with them if there is a chance in the future, Shifeng said, shaking his head. While this adventurer team might be foreign to Aqua Rose and Gentle Snow, Shifeng could not be more familiar with them. This adventurer team was the famous Midnight Tea Party. The team maintained a member count of 20 players. In terms of combat power, even super guilds feared them. However, as the Midnight Tea Party did not bother to claim territory of their own and refused to operate under anyone, the various super guilds had tried to recruit the team in the past. Unfortunately, no one ever succeeded. However, what surprised Xueqi was that he found a familiar face among the group. Endless Scars. Xueqi had never imagined that the once mythical existence would be a member of the Midnight Tea Party during God's Domain's early stages. If the public had learned of this in the past, everyone would have been shocked. Although members that left the Midnight Tea Party had gone on to their own great achievements in the past, none of them had ever been as successful as Endless Scars. Ranking as the #1 player on the God's Domain experts list meant that Endless Scars had stood at the peak of God's Domain. Yet, when Xueqi thought about how Endless Scars' status as one of the Blackwater Corporation's representatives, his head started to ache. The Blackwater Corporation's background was extraordinary. If Endless Scars joined Blackwater and became one of its leaders, he did not dare to imagine what kind of future awaited the guild. However, Xueqi had never heard of Endless Scars joining Blackwater in the past. She had gone solo throughout her entire career in God's Domain. Following which, Xueqi led his team into an NPC shop to stock up on food and beverages. He also had everyone check their inventory for potions and magic scrolls, and he handed these items out to anyone who needed them. After everyone rested, they rode their mounts to the neutral map Crying Ghost Ridge. The journey that typically required 14 hours only took Xueqi and the others 4. Moreover, the group didn't encounter a single monster attack on their way, surprising them all. There were level 60+ monsters all over the place, and they were only level 40+ players. The massive level difference would allow monsters to detect them easily, yet none of the monsters attacked them during their journey. What these players did not know was that Xueqi knew this terrain like the back of his hand. He knew which paths were safe and which were not. In reality, the 14-hour journey included the time players wasted in fights against the local monsters. If one did not have to fight, they could reach the Crying Ghost Ridge in 10 hours if they ran straight there. Stop for a minute. Before us lay the neutral map, Crying Ghost Ridge. As the team was about to enter the mountain path before them, Xueqi halted his team. He then took a Tier 1 group invisibility scroll from his bag and said, "We'll complete the remaining journey on foot. Remember to follow me closely. The monsters here aren't like any you have encountered before. Even the level 60 common monsters here could reach the Trial Tower's 3rd floor. They have the combat standards to reach the Trial Tower's 3rd floor? Are they even monsters?" Blackie could not help his astonishment. When recruiting ordinary members, most large guilds only required players to reach the Trial Tower's 2nd floor. Though Zero Wing standards were slightly higher, with ordinary members needing to reach the 3rd floor, while elite members needed to reach the 4th floor. In other words, any random monster in the Crying Ghost Ridge was as strong as Zero Wing's elite members. However, monsters had much higher attributes than players. If both sides had the same combat standards, monsters could easily kill players. Everyone's relaxed expressions immediately vanished, and they began to move cautiously. At the same time, they were very curious about why Xueqi had led them to such a dangerous location. Following which, Xueqi activated the group invisibility scroll. As long as they did not attack or receive any attacks, they would remain invisible. The group invisibility scroll's only drawback was that it would reduce the affected player's movement speed to 80%, and its duration was only 10 minutes. Shortly after Xueqi's team entered the Crying Ghost Ridge, another group of players arrived before the ridge on their horses. "There are too many monsters on the way here. We really are lucky that leader has the Beastmaster's breath as a deterrent. If that other team came this way, they would be stuck fighting those level 60 monsters for hours. By the time they got here, we'd already have the fallen Arkansas." The Midnight Tea Party's members could not help but laugh. They had only braved the journey here because their team leader had the Beastmaster's breath. Otherwise, they would have waited until they reached level 50. Ha! Something's not right. Look at those hoof prints. When one of the rangers used his investigation skill, he discovered hoof prints around the mountain path's entrance. He was shocked. The prints look quite fresh, and there are a lot of them. What? Could it be the team we saw in town? Impossible. Chapter 1113. Foreign Races. Under Chapter 1113. Foreign Races. When the Midnight Tea Party's members noticed the hoof prints, their expressions grew tense. The Crying Ghost Ridge was a level 60 to level 75 map. To current players, this place was a forbidden land. If not for their interest in the fallen ark inside the ridge, they would not have bothered coming here at all. Even if they were trying to avoid contact with large guilds, they would only level and quest in level 55 or so maps. Why wouldn't they be surprised to find hoof prints from other mounted players? Breeze Wine, the Midnight Tea Party's leader, turned to Tia, delicate pretty assassin in white clothes, and ordered, "Wave, scout ahead and see how many people they have and how far ahead they are." The assassin class was not only skilled in the art of assassination. These players were also talented trackers. If an assassin's tracking skill were a high enough level, they could even determine general information of the other party through their footprints. For example, the white-clothed assassin had leveled her tracking to Tier 1, level 9. At this stage of the game, an assassin with the skill at Tier 1, level 2 was already impressive. After all, it was not a commonly used skill. "Leave it to Meal." The pretty assassin called Netherworld Wave nodded. She then jumped off her massive avian mount and checked the hoof prints. As for the rest of the team, they also dismounted and sat to rest. Although they had ridden their mounts the whole way here, several hours of riding was a burden on their stamina. By sitting to rest, they could recover some of the lost stamina. There are 20 sets of prints. It should be a team of level 40 and above players. The prints are less than half an hour old. However, the team's trail disappears after reaching the path's entrance, Netherworld Wave reported. Even after searching for other clues, she could not find a reason for the sudden disappearance. Normally, only invisibility-type skills such as stealth produce such effects. However, why would a group of 20 assassins venture to the Crying Ghost Ridge? Although we don't know why these players are here, we should be careful. As a neutral map, there are plenty of foreign races in Crying Ghost Ridge. If the natives discover us, kill them immediately. If we can't kill them, run. Do not engage in a drawn-out battle. Breeze Wine instructed. Low-ranking mounts cannot hide their tracks. And my Beastmaster's breath is only effective against low-intelligence monsters. It won't be nearly as effective against the races here. From this point on, we'll advance on foot. Following which, the Midnight Tea Party stealthily entered the Crying Ghost Ridge. However, as the team traveled down the narrow mountain path leading into the Crying Ghost Ridge, they discovered a bewildering scene. The area, which had originally been covered with gravel, now looked like the surface of the moon. Craters and corpses of various races littered the ground. There were at least 300 dead scattered in the rubble. It looked like some great war's forlorn battlefield. What happened here? The female cleric Cloud Yarn's jaw dropped, shock filling her gaze as she stared at 3 ogre corpses that were over 10 meters tall, their bodies bisected. Surrounding these 3 were hundreds of 3 and 5 meter tall ogres. Ogre Gladiator, High Lord. Level 62. HP 0/19, 200, 000. Ogre Warrior, Special Elite. Level 60. HP 0/1, 900, 000. Ogre Shaman, Chieftain. Level 61. HP 0/3, 500, 000. Leader, these ogres seem to have been here to ambush players. However, from the looks of it, the players who passed by earlier must have killed them. Netherworld Wave said as she handed some simple traps she had picked up to Breeze Wine. In God's domain, players weren't the only ones capable of setting traps. Monsters could do so as well. As for foreign races that had higher intelligence than monsters, setting traps was common. Though, there were differences between the traps the various races set. For example, simple-minded races like ogres were only capable of setting very primitive traps. Perceptive players could easily avoid them. Just who are those players? Breeze Wine could not help his joy when he saw the ogre corpses. Among the hundreds of ogres, there were 3 level 62 ogre gladiators and over 30 ogre shamans, which were healers. Even their adventurer team would suffer casualties if they fought such a powerful force. However, he could not find a single trace of a player's resurrection on the battlefield. Thank goodness we arrived after those people. Otherwise, we would have had a hard battle, Cloud Yarn said, sighing in relief. Leader, I found the team's tracks. It seems like they're heading towards the Fallen Ark as well, Dark War, a ranger wielding a short bow, said as he pointed towards the dead forest ahead of them. This is interesting. Endless Scars smiled faintly as she examined the sword marks on the ogre gladiators. Leader, let's move out. If we waste too much time here, the monsters might respawn. All right, let's go, Breezewind said as he gestured with a hand. The team then followed the tracks. Meanwhile, deep in the Crying Ghost Ridge's dead forest, Xueqi and the others faced off against an army of trolls. Wave after wave assaulted the team. Meanwhile, the troll shaman standing in the rear continuously healed the troll warriors and chieftain fighting on the front lines. Troll Warrior, Elite. Level 61. HP 650, 000/650, 000. Troll Chieftain, Great Lord. Level 63. HP 42, 000, 000/42, 000, 000. Troll Shaman, Chieftain. Level 62. HP 3, 100, 000/3, 100, 000. Guild Leader, if they continue calling for reinforcements, we won't be able to hold them back. Kola, who held back the Troll Chieftain, shouted. The pressure was intense as he fought the Great Lord. He was only level 43. With a 20-level gap, even though he had an epic shield and the support skills of the demonic Flame Tiger, he felt as if his life were on a roller coaster. Every one of the Troll Chieftain's normal attacks dealt over -19,000 damage, while a skill would deal over -26,000. Meanwhile, he only had slightly over 35,000 HP. If not for the Cleric's Truth Shield and Oracle's protection on him, the Great Lord's skills would have killed him instantly. Wait a little longer. Turtledove and Wumian, try to lure as many troll warriors away from the chieftain as possible, Xueqi unhurriedly instructed. Guild Leader, there are too many trolls here. If any more join the fray, I'm afraid that we won't be able to deal with them. Gentle Snow felt her chest tighten as she watched more troll warriors join the battle. They could deal with their foes if the monsters were simply level 40+ elites. However, these were level 60+ elite monsters. Furthermore, aside from the abundant EXP, killing these monsters wasn't particularly profitable. The elite and chieftain ranked trolls they had already killed had only dropped silver coins and some materials. They hadn't even dropped a piece of mysterious iron equipment. Almost. Just hold on for a little while longer. Xueqi did not bother to explain. God's Domain's neutral maps were home to various foreign races. Unlike humans, foreign races were very talented. Some were good with magic, some possessed unmeasured strength, some had acute 5 senses, and some were natural-born warriors. To put it simply, foreign races were much stronger than humans. During ancient times, humans had consistently ranked at the very bottom among the races in God's domain. Humans did not have an edge in combat. However, humans' intelligence was unmatched. The human race had only achieved the prosperity it enjoyed today by accumulating and passing on their knowledge from one generation to the next. Although humans were still no match for archaic species, they had become the race on the continent of God's domain and occupied most of the continent's territories. There were 2 foreign races in Ghost Crying Ridge: ogres and trolls. While ogres wielded boundless strength, they lacked the intelligence to produce weapons that could maximize that strength. Trolls, on the other hand, were very smart. Normally, they would gather wood and stone to forge weapons for battle. Green ebony was among the wood these trolls harvested. Hence, when killing these trolls, there was a chance that green ebony would drop. Of course, players could also search the Crying Ghost Ridge for harvestable green ebony. However, the process was troublesome. Moreover, to Xueqi and the others, Crying Ghost Ridge was still too dangerous to explore casually. There were many places that they couldn't reach yet. Thus, Xueqi settled on killing trolls for the wood. In fact, he was specifically waiting for the troll chieftain to call for reinforcements so that he would have more troll warriors to kill. Troll warriors were only elite monsters. Their chances of dropping a rare material like green ebony were quite low. At the very least, they needed to kill chieftain-ranked trolls for a decent chance of obtaining green ebony. Guild Leader, more trolls have arrived. Minor Wind reported, his expression twisting. Among the newcomers were 3 Lord-ranked trolls. Chapter 11-14. Advanced Technique. Under. As soon as Minor Wind finished his report, the team heard crashing from the nearby forest as one tree after another fell to the ground. Suddenly, 3 3-meter-tall figures jumped into the clearing. These 3 figures were black-skinned trolls clad in broken armor, each wielding a silver spear. Their blood-red eyes radiated an intense bloodlust. Roar! The instant the 3 black trolls noticed Xueqi's group, they bellowed in rage. One of them even swung their spear at a nearby tree, felling the massive tree with a single attack. Even Xueqi couldn't underestimate their incredible strength. Petrified Troll, Lord. Level 62. HP 8200, 000/8200, 000. Everyone on the team felt an immense pressure from the petrified trolls. If the trolls were merely level 40 lords, they could hold the monsters back. However, a level 62 lord was many times more powerful than a level 40. On their team, only their MTs could withstand an assault from one of these monsters. No one else could endure their attacks, much less pin them down. These level 62 lords possessed combat standards at the Trial Tower's 4th floor. These petrified trolls' attributes also dwarfed theirs. The same held true for speed. In addition, Lord-ranked monsters were generally resistant to control skills. If they could neither outrun nor control these monsters, just how were they supposed to fight against the petrified trolls? Xueqi's expression was just as serious as the rest of his team. What rotten luck! It's even capable of summoning petrified trolls. The troll chieftain surprised Xueqi. Unlike ordinary trolls, petrified trolls had petrification runes carved all over their bodies, which made their skin harder than even steel. They were also monstrously strong. They were famous for being difficult enemies. In the past, players that encountered these petrified trolls generally turned and fled. The 3 petrified trolls didn't give Xueqi's team much time to react. Without hesitation, they pounced on Cola, who currently held back the troll chieftain. Why are they always targeting me? Glancing at the approaching petrified trolls, Cola activated his Tier 1 Protection Blessing and Last Stand, reducing all incoming damage by 50%, weakening any impact he received, and increasing his maximum HP by 40%. Instantly, his maximum HP rose to 49,530. Pang! 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 3 silver spears struck Cola's dragon scale shield, one after another. -6,717. -6,809. -6,784. Following which, the troll chieftain brandished its massive red greatsword and slashed at Cola. Tier 3 skill, Storm Rage. Quickly adjusting his footwork, Cola lifted his shield just in time to block the attack coming from his side. Meanwhile, the distant violet cloud quickly cast a truth shield on the guardian knight. Boom! When the troll chieftain's great sword crashed into the dragon scale shield, dazzling sparks flew as a loud boom resounded through the dead forest. Everyone felt the shockwave from the impact. As for Cola, numerous deep cuts ripped apart the ground around him. The truth shield on Cola shattered as the guardian knight was thrown, only stopping when he crashed into a large tree. The wood splintered upon impact. -19,678. What a powerful move! Everyone gasped at the power of the troll chieftain's attack. If not for Cola activating Protection Blessing and Last Stand beforehand, he would have died instantly. After witnessing this assault, the team finally understood that these trolls were far from ordinary. The trolls could actually coordinate their attacks. It was also obvious that the troll chieftain had already planned this, saving its ultimate move to deal a final blow. Unfortunately for the trolls, Cola was Zero Wings #1 MT. He wore a Tier 1 set equipment and wielded the epic-ranked Dragon Scale Shield. In addition, he had 3 advanced mana armor kits equipped. After activating his life-saving skills, he was not that easy to instant kill. However, after receiving the 4 trolls combination attack, Cola had less than 10,000 HP remaining. Xueqi took a Tier 2 magic scroll from his bag, unfurling it and reading the incantation within. Immediately, the dark blue magic scroll began to activate. 18 ice spears appeared around Xueqi. He then controlled the frozen spears to attack the troll chieftain and the 3 petrified trolls. Tier 2 spell, Ice Wheel. Every one of the 18 ice spears was powerful. If they all hit their mark, even a great lord would suffer severe wounds. Go! However, Xueqi did not simply use the 18 spears to attack the trolls. Instead, he executed swords orbit with the spears. The 18 spears formed a beautiful star of ice and struck at the 4 trolls. Boom, boom, boom. The instant the spears met the trolls, a series of crashes echoed throughout the clearing. The trolls cried in agony. Guild leader, you're too good to me. You used a tier 3 magic scroll to save me. Cola released a sigh of relief when he saw the 4 trolls being pushed back. The team's 4 healers hadn't recovered half of his HP yet. If he received another round of attacks, he would have no choice but to activate his final life-saving skill. Now that the 4 trolls had been forced back, he had room to breathe. Who are these people? A 20-man team is actually grinding monsters here. This is insane. That attack should have been from a tier 3 magic scroll, right? That is simply extravagant. While Xueqi's team fought the trolls, the Midnight Tea Party watched the battle from above the distant forest. They were curious as they observed Xueqi's team of 20 cloaked players in battle. No, that should have been an elementalist's tier 2 spell, Ice Wheel, Endless Scars said, shaking her head. She glanced at the petrified trolls, which had been forced back by over 20 yards, and the troll chieftain, which had taken 6 steps back, and said, however, the magic scroll's user is very powerful. He managed to incorporate the spell with some kind of special technique, allowing the tier 2 Ice Wheel to display the might of a tier 3 spell. That's not possible, right? We're talking about a magic scroll. It is already extremely difficult to incorporate skills with combat techniques, not to mention enhancing a skill's power to such a degree. The assassin, Netherworld Wave, could not bring himself to believe Endless Scars. However, the latter was an elementalist and far more familiar with magic-type skills than himself. Moreover, in terms of combat techniques, Endless Scars was unmatched in their adventurer team. That person did incorporate a combat technique into Ice Wheel. However, his technique is so advanced that even I can't discern any clues on how he achieved it, Breeze Wine, the team's leader, said, confirming Endless Scars' claim. Among the experts I've encountered, that player can rank in the top 3. What? Is he even human? Cloud Yarn could not help but blink as she stared at the distant Xueqi. This was the first time she had heard their team leader praise someone to such a degree. At this moment, the ranger Dark War, who had been paying attention to the battle, recaptured his teammates' attention. Look, that player is about to make a move. The Midnight Tea Party's players immediately returned their gazes to Xueqi. Fire. Coordinate with snow and lure one of the petrified trolls away. Leave the remaining 2 to me, Xueqi commanded. Chapter 11:15. Violent Team. Under. Chapter 11:15. Violent Team. As soon as Xueqi finished speaking, Fire Dance and Gentle Snow exploded into action. Fire Dance immediately used shadow steps to appear behind one of the petrified trolls, which was over 20 yards away. With a 360-degree spin, she thrust 1,000 transformations through the petrified troll's armor, penetrating the lord's back. Backstab. A damage of -9,216 appeared above the petrified troll's head, and it screamed in agony. The troll spat a mouthful of fresh blood. Although the petrified troll tried to retaliate, Fire Dance quickly followed up with a light slash at its back, the sharp 1,000 transformations easily cutting through the petrified troll's body like a hot knife through butter. Not only did Fire Dance's bisect inflict a 30-second bleeding debuff, but the lord was also paralyzed, unable to fight for a short time. Following which, Fire Dance executed Absolute Strike, transforming into a streak of black light that lanced through the petrified troll. The instant she reformed on the other side of the troll, she thrust 1,000 transformations at the lord's heart. 5-star Eviscerate. Immediately, the impact sent the petrified troll falling backward, 2 damages over -10,000 appearing above the lord's head. The petrified troll had no defense against Fire Dance's assault whatsoever. The team was momentarily stunned by this scene. That was a level 62 lord. Yet, Fire Dance had rendered it helpless. Moreover, she dealt such awe-inspiring damages to the lord. Initially, The team had assumed that Xueqi was pushing his luck when he had only sent Fire Dance and Gentle Snow to deal with the petrified troll. Now, however, it would seem that Fire Dance alone was more than enough for the job. Roar! As the heavily injured petrified troll got to its feet, it bellowed with rage. It swept its silver spear horizontally, covering a range of 10 yards. The powerful strength of its attack ripped apart the air, causing an explosion of force. In response, Gentle Snow executed charge and appeared before the petrified troll, protecting Fire Dance. Although the petrified troll was immune to her charge's fainted effect, the skill increased her attack speed and movement speed. She followed up by meeting the troll's spear with a cross slash. Boom! As an explosion shook the air, Gentle Snow was forced to take 3 steps back, a damage of over -2,000 appearing above her head, but she had driven back the petrified troll's spear. She blocked it. Everyone was stunned. She blocked it. No matter how I look at it, that monster's strength should be as high as a High Lord's of the same level, yet a single berserker blocked its attack and received so little damage in return? One of the Midnight Tea Party's muscular berserkers stared at Gentle Snow in shock. He was one of the top berserkers in the Midnight Tea Party, and even he did not think he could endure the petrified troll's attack as easily as Gentle Snow had. He even wore the complete Violent Will set, a level 45 dark gold set equipment for berserkers. What's so surprising? Rather, look at how powerful that assassin is. Although her attack seemed ordinary, she achieved a 90% or higher completion rate with every skill she used. Her bisect and eviscerates completion rates should be nearly 95%, Netherworld Wave said. Although Gentle Snow's ability to withstand the petrified troll's attack had surprised him as well, as an assassin, he understood exactly how powerful Fire Dance was. Big Sis Endless. Who do you think these people are? They're all as strong as monsters, the female cleric Cloud Yarn asked Endless Scars curiously. Among their team members, Endless Scars had the most powerful information network. They're all wearing black cloaks. With their information hidden, even I have no way of determining their identities. However, there are not many experts at this level in God's domain. Although I know of a few, none of their actions or behavior match these people, Endless Scar said, shaking her head. However, what the members of the Midnight Tea Party did not know was that while level 62 lords might be difficult to deal with for other experts, Fire Dance and Gentle Snow were not among them. After all, one of them wielded the fragmented legendary ranked 1000 transformations, while the other wore the fragmented legendary ranked 7 luminaries battle armor. With these godly items, how could they not be capable of injuring a level 62 lord? As the Midnight Tea Party conversed quietly, Xueqi launched his own assault. He activated Dragon's Authority, inflicting the fear debuff on all enemies within a 50-yard radius and reducing their attack power, attack speed, and movement speed by 40% for 1 minute. Although the skill couldn't reduce the petrified troll's movement speed, it could slightly reduce their attack power and attack speed. Moreover, the skill affected all nearby trolls, making it much easier for his other team members to fight these monsters. Xueqi then activated the Aura of Wind, increasing his movement speed and attack speed significantly. He executed Wind Blade and appeared before the 2 petrified trolls before executing Sword's Orbit, blue starlight wrapping around his body. As the starlight bloomed, not only did he force the 2 petrified trolls back, but a bloody gash also appeared across their bodies as a frightening damage appeared above both of their heads. -13,489. -27,544. Xueqi didn't receive any damage. Angry Tyrant's effects sure are frightening. As expected from excellent epic equipment, Xueqi was quite satisfied as he looked at the delicate bracers around his wrists. Dark red runes faintly shone on the bracers. The Angry Tyrant's strength bonus was above average even among epic items. When its passive skill, Angry Blow, took effect, it pushed his combat power to a whole new level. If not for these epic bracers, he would not have decided to confront the 2 lords directly, opting for a safer approach instead. Although the petrified trolls possessed high defense and strength, they were slower than ordinary lords of the same level. Even a Tier 2, level 50 assassin could easily outmaneuver a petrified troll, not to mention Xueqi, an expert with 5 epic items and a fragmented legendary item. Infuriated, the 2 petrified trolls howled. A blood-red haze then appeared around their spears. This move was none other than the petrified troll's Tier 2 skill, Blood Sacrificial Spear. It was a weapon-enhancing skill that doubled their weapon's attack power for 10 seconds and increased their attack speed by 30%. As numerous streaks of red light stabbed at Xueqi, the latter activated Flame Burst. The Abyssal Blade and Killing Ray both released blinding lights, illuminating the gloomy forest. Swords Orbit. Boom, boom, boom. A series of clangs rang out. Pained screams followed. The 3-meter-tall petrified trolls transformed into 2 massive fireballs as the attack sent them flying. They crashed through numerous trees before they finally fell to the ground. Everyone involuntarily shivered when they saw the 2 monsters' bodies. Meanwhile, the 2 lords' HP bars shrank by a small chunk. Minus 134,858. Minus 135,047. The 2 horrific damages stupefied everyone on the team. If not for Fire Dance and Gentle Snow still struggling with the other petrified troll, they would have doubted that the 2 monsters on the ground were actually petrified trolls. Prioritize killing the other petrified troll. Blackie, Aqua, Summer, prepare your large-scale destruction spells. Xueqi commanded immediately after throwing his 2 opponents. Now that no more trolls had joined the battle, they no longer needed to hold back. After clearing out the elite-ranked trolls, they could deal with the petrified trolls more quickly. Blackie and the others nodded and began chanting their spells' incantations. Time flew by. When the 3 of them finished chanting, gather the monsters around the troll chieftain. Blackie, use Guardian of Light on Cola. Under Xueqi's command, the team gathered around the troll chieftain. Cola activated Dragon Scale Body, increasing his defense by 200%, HP by 300%, and recovery by 500% for 30 seconds. With Guardian of Light's effects, it was practically impossible for the trolls to kill him. Seal. When Xueqi saw that most of the monsters had been hurted, he activated Skywheel Sword and limited the monsters' movement. Attack. Immediately, 3 large-scale destruction spells descended on the trolls. As for Xueqi, he switched the Aura of Wind for the Aura of Fire and activated Firestorm. Thunder and fire bombarded the monsters. By the time the spells ended, all elite-ranked trolls were dead. Even the chieftain-ranked troll shamans had less than half their HPs remaining. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.